Chapter 1499. The talent Rainbow Water was the signature ability of the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan. Just like the Heavenly Dog swallowing the sun from the Heavenly Dog clan, as one of the 5 royal clans of the Demon Clan, the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan had an enviable bloodline. The Dragon Elephant Turtle clan focused on defense rather than offense. The water origin was soft, but not strong enough. As a close combat type, the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan's attack was their fatal weakness. However, because of the existence of the talent Rainbow Water, the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan was able to make up for their fatal weakness. Perhaps the talent alone could not be compared to the top assault-type demon clans, but at least offense was not the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan's weakness. With the talent Rainbow Water and the perfect Rainbow Light, Ao Jiang was able to unleash the power of a peak Sage King. However, it was still blocked so easily by the unknown shield. How could he not be shocked? If it was any other martial artist, it would not only be a humiliation to have their strongest attack blocked by the opponent unscathed, it would be a huge blow to their morale. Just what kind of defensive treasure could block his ultimate move so easily? Ao Jiang's eyes widened, and he was shocked. Even the Big Dipper Shield, which is ranked 7th among the Douling Supremes, does not have such strong defensive power. Ao Jiang muttered, and he was stunned. At that moment, the Shield of Truth flashed and disappeared. It was as if it had suddenly disappeared. Lin Feng calmed himself down and once again focused all his energy on absorbing the last bit of power from the divine beast Phoenix. Thick flames engulfed his body, and strong star source energy was released everywhere. The energy was extremely strong. What a strong fire-sensing ability! Lin Feng was shocked. At this moment, his ability to sense and control flames seemed to have instantly improved by over 100 times. It felt as if he was originally wandering around the outer circle of the quintessence of fire. Yet now, he'd passed through a barrier and entered the true quintessence of fire, the ocean of the Tao. He felt extremely fulfilled. Phew! Lin Feng let out a long sigh in his heart. His expression changed slightly. He was shocked and happy. This was the real top fire spiritual master talent. This was the most profound understanding of the Tao of fire, the most fundamental understanding, and the most perfect control. His main body had always been inferior to his doppelganger. Ultimately, it was because of his aptitude. Even though he had fused with the Phoenix blood, he was still quite a distance away from the real main body. His celestial spirit master cultivation was actually from the ancient race. It was just that his body was much stronger than that of the ancient race. All this time, the main body's greatest advantage had been his physique. His physique was much stronger than that of ordinary sky spirit masters or even martial gods. Furthermore, in times of danger, the strongest display of the main body was the top-notch dual pupils. With the fusion of the vast star eyes and the vast star eyes, the strength of a heavenly soul master in his own state was extremely powerful. On the contrary, the flame that seemed to be the strongest was actually of little value to the main body. It could display great strength when it was at an absolute advantage, but when it was at a disadvantage, it was difficult to make a comeback. However, now that he had truly fused with the Phoenix blood and completed the inheritance, the flames were no longer the flames of the past. The true Tao of fire would only exist in his body. Flames might not be the strongest ability of the main body, but it would never be the weakest power in the future. But right now, the most important thing was time. Oh no! Ao Jiang quickly came to his senses. With the strength and experience of a demon king, his reaction was naturally fast. The current situation entered Ao Jiang's mind, and he immediately analyzed it. The doppelganger in front of him seemed like it could not be killed. Continuing to fight with it would not benefit him at all. On the contrary, it would cause the final transmission of the Phoenix's power to be completely dissipated. By then, this human martial artist would definitely be reborn. It would be even more difficult to deal with. Ao Jiang even felt a faint sense of threat. Boom! The watery light boiled. The virtual image of the dragon-esque tortoise behind Ao Jiang condensed again. It was clear and furious. Like a ray of light, Ao Jiang directly attacked the fire phoenix. His eyes were extremely cold. He knew very well that long-distance attacks would no longer be effective against this human martial artist. The only way to stop him from absorbing the power was to attack at close range and fight him. Although this was not his forte, it was definitely not his weakness. He was a demon king at the peak of the Sage King level. Ao Zhang's murderous intent was exposed. He did not have any weapons, only a pair of iron fists. Although his fists were short, they were shocking. It was as if a mountain was pressing down. The terrifying power accompanied by the Sage King level fist technique was not to be underestimated. Fists were the most fundamental power of the body. It was also the easiest weapon to master the highest level of mastery. Boom! His fists were like Mount Tai, vaguely revealing a hint of the starry sky realm. Ao Zhang's power exploded. Swoosh! The shield of truth appeared again. Lin Feng used the same trick again. The shield of truth that was hard to distinguish flashed with a bright light and blocked in front of Ao Zhang. However, Ao Zhang was also very cunning. He did not fight the shield of truth head-on. His body was strange and unpredictable. In an instant, he went around the side of the shield of truth. The gap was exposed. Ao Zhang kicked hard with his right leg and threw out another punch. Fists were the fastest to change and the most compatible with the body. That was because the hand were originally a part of the body. The defense of a shield of truth did not change so quickly. After all, Ao Zhang's attacks could be said to be perfect. The combination of footwork and fist technique was at the level of a master. If he was not confident, why would Ao Zhang take such a huge risk to attack at close range? As a demon king, he had experienced more than thousands of battles. He was a martial artist of the defense type and was very experienced in breaking through defenses. The biggest disadvantage of a shield was that it was not agile enough. Bang! The flame of rebirth shone with an extremely bright light. However, with the divine beast Phoenix's exhausted strength, it could not withstand Ao Zhang's fierce attacks. If the original body fought back, it would undoubtedly fall into Ao Zhang's trap. His goal was to interrupt the divine beast Phoenix's inheritance. Ao Zhang's bright eyes flashed, and his murderous intent was clear. He would not allow any accidents to happen. He must kill this human in front of him. But Ao Zhang had forgotten that at this moment, other than the dying divine beast Phoenix and Lin Feng's original body that was receiving the inheritance, there was also Lin Feng's double. A centipede dies, but never falls down. Moreover, with the double's demonic physique, even if only one cell was left, it could be reborn. Now that it was only severely injured, what was the big deal? Fight! Lin Feng had already thrown caution to the wind. His body was as fast as lightning. The indigo doomsday spear shone brightly. The starry sky realm's way of the spear completely restrained Ao Zhang's fist technique. Cloud rise. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and used it. Dragging his battered body, the spear technique burst forth. Although his strength and astral energy were slightly insufficient, the starry sky realm's way of the spear and the extremely dense murderous aura made up for the power of the spear technique. In addition, the attack came from behind, and the target was Ao Zhang's vital point. Wah! His eyes were dim, but there was a strong determination. Lin Feng's face was pale but strong. Since the change in the original plan, he had already been prepared. Since he had decided to do it, he would not hesitate anymore. No matter what the result was, whether it was right or wrong, he would resolutely carry it out. He believed that as long as the original body was given enough time to complete the final inheritance of the divine beast Phoenix, the level of his power would be elevated to a whole new level. By then, he would definitely be able to compete with Ao Zhang. Damn it, Ao Zhang's expression was ugly. The display of his fist technique was about to break through the Phoenix's paper-thin defense. However, the chill behind him made him have no choice but to give up on this plan. He already knew how strong Lin Feng was just now. If he insisted on going his own way, even if the spear did not take his life, it would definitely severely injure him. Gamble? Ao Zhang never liked this word. Maybe he could break through the divine beast Phoenix's defense, interrupt the inheritance, and even severely injure the human. However, he did not want both sides to suffer and die together. His figure changed again. Ao Jiang moved and retreated. His reaction was very fast. His face was filled with anger. In an instant, he turned around and attacked directly towards the indigo spear light in front of him. It was as if he was not afraid of Lin Feng and had full confidence in meeting him head-on. However, Lin Feng did not meet him head-on. He took a step and retreated. Under the extremely fast sprint, he suddenly retreated, displaying an unbelievable physique. With the Doomsday Spear in his hand, although he was full of fighting spirit, Lin Feng chose to dodge instead of showing off his courage. This was not his intention in the first place. Drag it out. The longer he dragged it out, the more his original body would absorb and the stronger his power would be. As for his doppelganger, he might be able to complete 1 or 2 forceful attacks. However, this feint was like using extreme speed, and the consumption of his body strength was much lower than using forceful attacks. It was clear who was better and who was worse. Lin Feng pursed his lips tightly and endured the pain as he continued to deal with Ao Jiang. Anger. Ao Jiang was very angry. He was obviously being played by Lin Feng. He wanted to attack the figure with the spear, but the latter avoided him. The terrifying speed made him unable to chase after him. Now that he chose the Fire Phoenix, the extremely strong shield recovered its defensive system. Just as he broke through the shield's defense, the indigo spear that lingered would appear again. Going round and round, it was as if he was going round and round in a circle. How could he not be angry? Time passed by slowly. To Ao Jiang, his patience had been worn out to a critical point. He did not want to be in a stalemate anymore. There had to be a change in order to break out of this predicament. At this moment, he was the one who was at a disadvantage. Naturally, he was the one who had to change. Human, go to hell. Ao Jiang roared furiously. While he was attacking, he suddenly turned around. The origin energy of water that shrouded the entire hall instantly condensed and turned into a thunderstorm. Rays of light shot out in all directions. Ao Jiang's trump card was instantly unleashed. Indiscriminate attack. The astral energy was a huge waste, but Ao Jiang did not care about anything else. Almost the entire hall was within his attack range, but his target was only the human who kept avoiding him. Ao Jiang's eyes shone coldly, and he was very clear about it. If he did not get rid of the human who kept harassing him, he would not be able to attack the Fire Phoenix. Choice. Ao Jiang gave Lin Feng a chance to make a choice. If his doppelganger fought, he would have to face it head-on. If he did not fight and avoided, the doppelganger would not be able to get close to the Fire Phoenix. By then, the opportunity that Ao Jiang was looking forward to would come. No matter what Lin Feng chose, it did not seem to be a good choice. However, what Ao Jiang did not expect was that he was one step too late. Swoosh! The doppelganger retreated quickly. His eyes were weak and dim, but there was a satisfied smile on his face, and it gradually disappeared like smoke. The doppelganger's mission had been completed. At this moment, the fire of rebirth outside the divine beast phoenix slowly dimmed and lost its energy. What replaced it was the emergence of strong aura. The main body had finished absorbing. Plans could not keep up with changes. No need to explain. There are still 2 more chapters. Xiao Xiao will continue writing. Chapter 1500. Lin Feng's doppelganger was not the only one that disappeared. As the flame of rebirth slowly dimmed, the pair of wings that wrapped around Lin Feng's body also drooped down, as if they had lost their last bit of strength. A warm and powerful aura disappeared from the hall. The divine beast phoenix with powerful life force had fallen into eternal slumber. However, there was not a hint of unwillingness in her expression. Instead, she left with a kind smile. Because she had completed the bestowment and inheritance, along with the last heart of the phoenix and the phoenix blood essence with complete mysterious abilities, she had passed it on to Lin Feng. To be able to pass on her bloodline at the last moment of her life, she could die without regrets. Hua! Lin Feng stood up slowly, like a pine tree in the wind. There was no expression on his face. He looked at Ao Jiang, who was in front of him, with an ugly expression, his eyes flashing slightly. At this moment, his main body state of mind was completely different. Previously, when he faced such a powerful demon king, his main body was a little weak. After all, the difference in strength was obvious, but now, he no longer felt that way. Other things aside, just the level alone, his main body had risen by 2 levels, from the beginner Saint King level to the advanced Saint King level. He had always been at a disadvantage in terms of star source energy. Even though he was still slightly inferior, the difference was much smaller than before. Although in a short period of time, his main body strength had not increased to 100%, and he might not be able to match up to his doppelganger, but his main body's current state was at 120%. Perfect peak state. It was not comparable to Ao Jiang, who was exhausted from the continuous battles, nor was it comparable to his doppelganger. Now, he had the ability to compete with Ao Jiang and go against him. He could protect the existence that he wanted to protect. He could control his own fate. Moreover, with the perfect inheritance and the power of the divine beast phoenix, his qualifications and talents had changed. He was no longer inferior to his doppelganger. As long as he had enough time to absorb and digest, his main body would soon catch up with his doppelganger, and even surpass him. You will be the one to die, Ao Jiang. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and a murderous aura burst out. Bang! The flame appeared in his hand with a strange luster. It was neither the flame of rebirth nor the flame of devouring. Instead, it was a flame that flashed with 2 rays of light. Upon closer inspection, it looked like 2 flame dragons that merged with each other, forming a perfect combination. Fusion. For the first time, the 2 top-notch flames merged perfectly. There was no need to rely on any intermediary, means, or methods. At this moment, the fire of devouring and the fire of rebirth were in perfect harmony and had an ultimate pulling force. At this moment, it was exactly the same as the 2 flames around the phoenix's body. They were as intimate as the phoenix's children. It was too easy. It was so easy that even Lin Feng himself was surprised. The ability that he had been painstakingly cultivating but could not obtain was now within his reach. Perhaps with his own bitter cultivation, he would be able to reach such a level one day. But now, with the inheritance of the divine beast phoenix, he could easily accomplish it. Go! Lin Feng's hands moved in the air, and a fireball was thrown out. Boom! 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 As the flames spread, the entire hall was shrouded in flames, giving off a majestic aura. With the appearance of the first fireball, Lin Feng's attack began. The second fireball, the third fireball, the fourth fireball. It was as if there was no end to it. One after another, blazing fireballs containing extreme power flew out in an instant, condensing an intense power. Control. Perfect control. Dozens of fireballs danced in the hall and blasted towards Ao Jiang. Each fireball was like a cultivator with great offensive power. Their coordination was flawless. Lin Feng's heart was calm. His eyes flashed, and there was a faint smile on his face. All this while, as a celestial spirit master who had fused with the phoenix's blood, he had never truly unleashed the power of a celestial spirit master. Every time they fought, he would defeat his opponent in close combat. But now it was different. Damn it! Ao Jiang cursed in his heart. His expression was extremely ugly. Arching his back, he blocked and dodged the fireball attacks in a slightly awkward manner. His speed was extremely fast. Although he arched his back and looked like an old man, Ao Jiang's ability was indeed not a bluff. He dodged and dodged continuously, occasionally using up his strength to block the fireballs. Although he was in a difficult situation, he was not completely at a disadvantage. But bang! Another fireball hit his face. Ao Jiang's eyes lit up. His hands moved forward and a water curtain appeared, touching the fireball. Rumble. His body trembled violently. Ao Jiang's face was covered in dust, and he felt that his hands were slightly numb. His expression was ugly. He blocked the seemingly insignificant fireballs time and time again, but they had the power to hurt him. It was not to be underestimated. The most annoying thing was that the number of fireballs did not decrease at all. This human elite was constantly replenishing the number of fireballs. No, this could not go on. Ao Jiang knew his own situation. After a few fierce battles, especially the ultimate move that he used just now, he had used up a lot of his strength. Now, he only had about 50% of his stellar source energy left. His body was also injured. If he continued to be in a stalemate with this human elite, it would not do him any good. Fight! Ao Jiang clenched his teeth. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and his aura condensed. Judging the situation clearly, Ao Jiang knew that if he did not want to pay a price, not to mention killing this human and obtaining the treasure, it would be wishful thinking for him to even walk out of this hall safely. Originally, it was a crushing situation where he had the absolute upper hand. Now, it had turned into a fierce battle. You've thought it through? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. At that moment, Ao Jiang no longer chose to avoid the battle. Instead, he took the risk and charged forward. As everyone knew, the best way to deal with a Celestial Spirit Master was to get close. Once a Celestial Spirit Master was in close combat, his strength would be limited and his life might even be in danger. Therefore, Celestial Spirit Masters usually had many ways to restrain their opponents. For example, a heavy meat shield or a control-type treasure. However, to Lin Feng, what was close combat? He had always used the guise of a Celestial Spirit Master, but he was actually in martial god. How many opponents had fallen for it? Not to mention, now that he had the Shield of Truth, his close combat strength had increased by another level. His defense was extremely abnormal. Now, compared to his doppelganger, his actual body had many variations in combat strength. When facing an opponent who did not know his background, he undoubtedly had a strong advantage of confusion. However, at that moment, he still did not intend to reveal his true strength. The later he revealed his trump card, the more powerful it would be, and the more fatal it would be to the Demon King Ao Jiang. Ta! With a light leap, Lin Feng retreated. The fireball in his hand did not stop. His eyes lit up as he charged toward Ao Jiang again. It was more concentrated and more powerful. It shot out like a cannonball, narrowing Ao Jiang's range of escape. Guerrilla warfare. This was the combat method of a Celestial Spirit Master. However, Lin Feng's attack was stronger and his control was even more abnormal. He was like a standard miniature phoenix reborn. Roar! A furious roar triggered the heavenly might. After all, Ao Jiang was a demon king. He naturally had a way to counter the attack of a Celestial Spirit Master. The light shadow of the Dragon Elephant Turtle clan behind him moved again. Layers of scales appeared in front of him. Not only did it form a strong defense around his body, it also formed a sharp cone in front of him. Chi! The sharp cone of scales broke through the fireball. The sound of the explosion made the entire hall shake violently. Ao Jiang's face was stern and ferocious. At that moment, his killing intent was exploding as if he had gone mad. Using his strength to consume his strength, he quickly closed in on Lin Feng. Ao Jiang was going all out. Fireballs exploded around Ao Jiang's body. However, more than 90% of the fireballs were absorbed by the scales. The remaining 10% was nothing to Ao Jiang. He was going to block it with his body. Mystic turtle armor. Ao Jiang's eyes were red. He was really going all out. Mystery, blood phoenix. Lin Feng leaped back with a calm expression. Compared to Ao Jiang's madness, he was like an old monk in meditation. He was not affected at all. However, the explosion of his strength was not inferior. A blood-red light covered his entire body. A blood-soaked phoenix appeared behind him. It was more realistic than before. It was as if the phoenix had come alive. So powerful. Lin Feng was surprised. The same mystery was used. However, compared to before, the difference was like heaven and earth. It felt like two different levels. The mystery, blood phoenix, was in his heart. It resonated strongly with his body. At that moment, the power that was awakened in his body was much stronger than before. The feeling of the flames and the power of the phoenix were 10 times stronger than he expected. The power of the mystery had increased tremendously. Inheritance bestowed. This was the true change of talent. The current him had already been reborn. Mystery, different again. Lin Feng thought to himself. His eyes shone slightly. He changed his original plan instantly. His hands changed again. A strong sense of connection rose. A blood-red light flashed past like lightning. It rumbled, and the fire in the sky appeared again. A stronger Tao of flames. A more profound mystery power. It was much stronger than the blood phoenix. Boom! Boom! Flashes of fire appeared. They were like phoenixes formed by flames. They cried in the sky. Lin Feng's hands changed rapidly. His eyes shone, and his body seemed to be glowing. The power of flames was displayed perfectly. Mystery, 100 phoenixes. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he said softly. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed. Heaven and earth trembled. The power of the mystery 100 phoenixes was far stronger than the blood phoenix. This was his mother's signature move. 10 phoenixes cried out and fell like a meteor shower. This time, not only was it perfectly released, but it also carried a blood-red light. It was as if real blood phoenixes had appeared. Their power had increased by more than one level. Although there were no real 100 phoenixes, the diving attack of 10 blood phoenixes was already quite impressive. Originally, not to mention the attack that gave the blood phoenixes power, he had not even fully comprehended the mystery of the 100 phoenixes. However, everything seemed to flow naturally now. He could easily use it. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly. His main body's power was at its peak. He was very confident that he could win this battle. Troubled times. Originally, it was just a common cold. The cold symptoms were gone the day before yesterday. There was only a slight cough. However, the cough worsened at night and caused a high fever. When I went to the hospital, it turned out to be mild pneumonia. Sigh. I slept for the whole day yesterday. Today, the fever finally subsided. However, the cough is not healed yet. My body is still very weak. I have to train my body well in the future. I have been refining the universe with fire for almost 2 years. I have never had such a serious illness. Here, Xiao Xiao apologizes to everyone. Chapter 1501. What increased was not only the level of strength and star source energy. The control of fire was only one aspect. In terms of understanding the mystery, the existence of the Tao of the Phoenix constellation was the real surprise. It was completely unexpected. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The mastery of the mystery was beyond his imagination. Originally, he did not have much confidence in defeating the Demon King Ao Jiang, but the situation was completely different now. His hands moved quickly, and the 10 blood phoenixes were clearly under his control. The use of the mystery, 100 phoenixes combined with the blood phoenixes, was beyond the power of the mystery itself. Come on. Lin Feng was full of confidence. In front of him, the Demon King Ao Jiang was charging towards him like a giant elephant. Even though he had a terrifying defense, he believed that he would definitely not be able to fight against him. Boom! 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 The power of the blood phoenixes mixed with the fire attack, and the fiery red star source energy exploded. Ao Jiang's expression changed drastically. As a demon king, he had been through a lot of battles. He had a clear gauge of the current situation and the power of his attacks. Gritting his teeth, Ao Jiang stomped on the ground with his right foot and walked sideways unwillingly, deviating from his target. If he continued to charge forward, he would be severely injured even if he did not die. The power of this human celestial spirit master was terrifying. He was not inferior to the divine phoenix. And at that moment, the blood phoenixes did not react as quickly as Ao Jiang. A few blood phoenixes at the front fell to the ground. The shocking explosion of fire caused the entire hall to shake violently. One could imagine how terrifying the power of the blood phoenixes was. Ao Jiang was also shocked. However, he did not have time to think about it. Even though the sudden turn caused him to deviate from his target, did the human elite in front of him not deviate from his target? There was a mistake. Chance. Ao Jiang's eyes lit up instantly. The opportunity could not be missed. Like an arrow released from a bow, Ao Jiang shot out again with full explosive power. In a short moment, he increased his speed to the maximum. He wanted to hit the target with one hit. If it is not my own power, how can it be controlled so easily? Ao Jiang despised in his heart with jealousy and jealousy. He clenched his fists and his veins popped out. His arched back was straightened and the dragon elephant turtle constellation behind him shone brightly. Ao Jiang's fist roared, as if it was splitting the sky and earth apart. Swish! Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed, as if he couldn't react in time. She frantically manipulated the mystery of the blood phoenix and turned around to retreat. However, she could not match up to Ao Jiang's explosive power. Die, human! Ao Jiang charged out like a sharp awl, unstoppable. The surging murderous intent covered everything, and a punch close to the starry sky realm was launched. Lin Feng had nowhere to run. Ao Jiang was extremely confident in his fist strength. But suddenly, swish! Light flashed. Even though Lin Feng didn't have time to turn around, a transparent and illusory shield blocked in front of him. Shield of Truth. They appeared at the right time. If they were one step earlier, Ao Jiang would have room to react. If they were one step later, Ao Jiang would not be able to defend. The flashing light fell into Ao Jiang's eyes and caused his body to tremble slightly. Even if his mind was firm, he was still slightly affected. However, Ao Jiang's face was contorted and his eyes were filled with disdain. He was already prepared. Do you think I don't know that you have this move? Ao Jiang sneered, and his body suddenly expanded. Even though he could no longer change the direction of inertia, his huge body completely eliminated the original fist strength. The watery light formed a natural membrane, and the form of the dragon elephant turtle clan was revealed. Like a mountain crashing down, it was no longer the fist strength, but the original strength of the body. It was the momentum. The shield could block the attack, but the momentum was different. It was as if the body was leaning on the shield and using the shield as an intermediary, forming the most direct competition of strength with the opponent. After all, Ao Jiang had been through hundreds of battles. He already knew that Lin Feng had such a strong defensive shield. Why would he do that knowingly? He was just going with the flow. However, Ao Jiang still underestimated the Shield of Truth. What was the Shield of Truth? It had its own illusory ability. Defense was only a part of it. Any martial artist who attacked the Shield of Truth would receive a backlash from the Shield of Truth's illusory ability. The stronger the attack, the stronger the backlash. Even though Ao Jiang used brute force and did not attack directly, part of the force still fell on Shield of Truth due to inertia and activated its ability. Bam! His head shook, and Ao Jiang's eyes were bloodshot. He did not expect this at all. However, something even more unexpected was waiting for him. Hua! Lin Feng's eyes shone. Just as Ao Jiang clashed with the Shield of Truth, the fusion of the vast star pupil and vast star pupil was completed. Dense soul energy surged like a blazing flame. The soul power in his mind poured out like a tide and completely gathered, forming a fiery red sparrow that flew out from his eyes. It took a long time to describe, but it happened in the blink of an eye. Even though the illusory ability of the Shield of Truth was strong, Ao Jiang only touched it for the first time and did not fall into it. He was only caught off guard. He escaped from the illusory ability of the Shield of Truth in an instant. However, he did not expect to enter the tiger's cage after escaping from the wolf's den. Vermilion bird attack. Lin Feng shouted and released his soul power. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. If he did not use his ability now, when would he? If it was him before, he might not be familiar with the control of the mystery blood phoenix and 100 phoenix. However, how could he make such a stupid mistake now? It was just a trick to lure the enemy. He would beat them at their own game. Bam! The soul power clashed and shook. The vermilion bird attack showed that Lin Feng was really giving it his all. Facing a powerful demon king, he had no choice but to give it his all. The ability of a Heavenly Soul Master was fully unleashed. Even though the Vermilion Bird attack consumed a lot of soul power, the advantage was that there was no reaction and the Demon Clan soul was not strong. He spat out blood and staggered. Ao Jiang, who was in his original form, was ambushed. His body trembled violently as if he was having a spasm. He did not expect the human elite in front of him to have the attack of a Heavenly Soul Master. In addition, he was affected by the illusory ability previously. He had just escaped and was still in a daze when he was attacked again. Ao Jiang howled hysterically at the sky in excruciating pain. The Vermilion Bird attack was fully unleashed. Now, Lin Feng's eyes moved and his hands moved quickly. The blood phoenixes that had disappeared earlier attacked Ao Jiang from behind. Even though there were only 7 blood phoenixes left, once all of them hit Ao Jiang, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Lin Feng's expression was serious and his heart was moved. The situation could not be better. Once Ao Jiang was severely injured, he could kill him at a very small cost. However, the plan was good, but it did not mean that it would succeed. Roar, roar, roar. The rough roar was like a cry from the depths of the soul. Ao Jiang's body was bathed in blood. The back of the huge dragon elephant tortoise's body formed rays of rainbow light. They spread out like silk threads and wrapped around Ao Jiang like a ribbon. One circle, one circle. It was like a cocoon. Rumble, rumble. The flames collided with the rainbow light and burned fiercely. However, the rainbow water formed from the essence of the origin energy of water contained the true power of a demon king and a peak sage king. How could it be so easy to break through? Ao Jiang, who had been through hundreds of battles, was able to survive until now not only because of his power, but also because of his ability to adapt. Bang! Bang! The intense collision instantly woke Ao Jiang up. Even though his soul was injured and he was caught off guard by Lin Feng's sneak attack, Ao Jiang was not slow at all. The power of a demon king was extremely strong. He clenched his teeth and blood flowed out. The rainbow light formed by the origin energy of water suddenly spread out with a loud boom. The energy was strong. Impressive, Lin Feng thought to himself, and his eyes shone brightly. Ao Jiang's power was stronger than he had imagined. The power of a demon king was indeed extraordinary. Even though his own power was not inferior to Ao Jiang's, it would take a lot of effort to defeat him. It would not be easy. However, this was a great opportunity. How could he not cherish it? While he was weak, he would take his life. Lin Feng's eyes were cold and murderous. 2 spiral-shaped flames instantly burst out from his hands. The flame of rebirth and the flame of devouring merged perfectly. Boom! The flames raged and instantly covered the origin energy of water in the hall. Waves of fireballs took advantage of the fact that Ao Jiang was heavily injured and shot out like a string of bullets. They collided with Ao Jiang's talent, rainbow water. It was as if a piece of hard rock was smashing against a sturdy turtle shell. The dragon elephant turtle virtual image behind Ao Jiang gradually dimmed. However, even though he had the upper hand, it was not stable. This won't do. Lin Feng was gloomy. The power of his 2 flames was not too strong. Even if they merged, they would not be able to unleash their true power. It would cause Ao Jiang to be severely injured or even killed. After all, without the enhancement of the mystery, it was a little weak to only rely on the power of the flames. Let's do it again, Lin Feng said to himself. A blood phoenix materialized behind him, and its eyes glistened with a bloody light. Both of his hands rapidly moved as the profound art of 100 phoenixes was used once again. It was as if he could see the phoenix constellation shining brightly. That resonant cry was clearly imprinted into his ears. It was so familiar, so warm, as if, bang, his heart was shocked, and Lin Feng's expression changed. The phoenix in his mind seemed to have come alive. The phoenix constellation was within his reach. He did not know what was happening, but the heart's connection had entered deeply and filled his heart. His blood seemed to be burning. A gush of power rose from the depths of his soul. Wah! A clear sound resonated in the hall. It was as if the stars in the sky had awakened. Ao Jiang was not the only one who was shocked. Lin Feng widened his eyes, and his heart was beating fast. He felt relaxed and happy, as if he was bathing in the blessing of the Tao of the constellation. The mystery 100 Phoenix that he was about to unleash was extremely clear under the cover of the flames. It was originally unclear. Now, it was as if the haze and fog had been wiped away. It was clearly visible. The mystery was completely comprehended. 100 Phoenix, Lin Feng said softly. At that moment, everything was different. The true 100 Phoenixes had appeared. Everyone, don't worry. Xiao Xiao will recover soon. Chapter 1502. 100 Phoenix. It contained the profound mysteries of the constellation Tao. However, in terms of comprehension difficulty, the Blood Phoenix and 100 Phoenix could not be compared at all. Jia Yaju's ability had improved so quickly because she had comprehended the mystery of 100 Phoenix by chance. She had not only broken through to the King Sage level, she had even crossed over to the beginner King Sage level. One could only imagine how powerful the mystery of 100 Phoenix was. Lin Feng's talent was naturally not as good as Jia Yaju, who had a pure bloodline. His comprehension of the mystery of 100 Phoenix was also far behind. However, in many cases, chance and coincidence were very important. The gift from the divine beast Phoenix before its death had greatly improved Lin Feng's talent, and he had directly reached the top of the Douling world's talent. Even without the sudden enlightenment, the comprehension of the mystery of 100 Phoenix was already in a good state. It was only a matter of time before the true comprehension was completed. Come! Lin Feng's eyes were completely bright. The condensation of the constellation Tao was like 100 phoenixes burning in flames, diving down like a meteor shower. Without the enhancement of the mystery of Blood Phoenix, there was no way to enhance it. The power of the mystery of 100 Phoenix was too strong. In comparison, the mystery of Blood Phoenix's constellation Tao was too weak. Most importantly, although he had comprehended the mystery of 100 Phoenix, he did not have the ability to completely control it, let alone add on the power of the Blood Phoenix. However, there was no need to control it. When the 100 Phoenixes dived down, Ao Jiang could not dodge at all. It was a crushing attack that covered everything. Ao Jiang was completely enveloped within it. The defensive technique that Ao Jiang's talent, Rainbow Water, evolved previously was now digging its own grave. The absolute defense that was like a silk ribbon that wrapped around Ao Jiang into a cocoon had now turned Ao Jiang into a live target. Even if he wanted to change, it would be too late. Ao Jiang's roar was heard, and his face was distorted. Pain flashed in his eyes, and they were bloodshot. He was unwilling to give up. His judgment of the situation made him anxious, furious, and anxious. He gritted his teeth, and Ao Jiang's final ability was unleashed. He could no longer hide it. He knew clearly how terrifying the attack that was about to come was. Dong! Dong! His body expanded, and the black tortoise armor appeared again. The water origin outside Ao Jiang's body was extremely rich, and with a flash, he transformed into a real dragon elephant turtle. The turtle scales were clear, and the power of dragon elephant appeared. The water origin formed the strongest defense. Ao Jiang's final struggle. And at this moment, boom, intense flames rained down from the sky. The 100 Phoenixes swooped down in a suicidal manner. The mystery of the 100 Phoenixes appeared at this moment. The extreme power of the flame condensed the intense Tao of the Phoenix constellation. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped Ao Jiang. The hall rumbled violently, as if it was about to collapse. The origin of fire and the origin of water collided fiercely, causing the heavens and the earth to shatter. Lin Feng stood proudly. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled as he looked straight ahead. Yang Kai's complexion was slightly pale. Using the 100 Phoenix secret art consumed a massive amount of Star Source strength, and even though he was now a high-order Saint King, the consumption of Star Source strength just once was terrifying. The stronger the attack, the more star source strength it consumed. Of course, the damage it caused was extremely shocking. In front of them was a giant bottomless pit. It was as if Ao River had been buried alive, and the bottom could not be seen. Ao Zhang's hoarse and painful cries could still be heard in the hall. It sounded like a sorrowful wail, like a plea for mercy, but there was also a hint of unwillingness and unwillingness to admit defeat. The demon clan had the blood of wild beasts flowing through their bodies. They were cruel and vicious. To them, battles were nothing out of the ordinary. They would not admit defeat easily, even if they only had a little bit of strength left. Not to mention Ao Jiang, who was a demon king. What a strong defense, Lin Feng thought to himself as he looked down. He knew very well how powerful his attack was, but he did not expect Ao Jiang to withstand it. He blocked all the power of the 100 Phoenix secret art with pure defense. His incredible defense was indeed worthy of being one of the 5 great demon kings of the demon clan. However, serious injuries were unavoidable. Unfortunately, the 5 great origin energies reinforce and counteract each other. The origin of fire is naturally weaker than the origin of water. Otherwise, no matter how strong Ao Zhang's defense was, he would definitely die. Lin Feng thought to himself as his eyes shone brightly. The attack this time was just a little bit off, but sometimes a little bit of difference could lead to a completely different outcome. Fortunately, Ao Jiang was seriously injured. With his strength, defeating him was already a certainty. The key was to be careful of Ao Zhang's desperate and ferocious counterattack before he died. The reason why his avatar was injured was because of this. The demon clan's fighting spirit was much stronger than that of human ancient martial art practitioners. Ao Jiang was indeed not dead. Although his breath was weak, his flesh was torn, and he was seriously injured, his origin was not injured. To be precise, he still had the strength to fight. However, Ao Jiang had already given up. Unlike other demon clans who only knew how to fight recklessly, Ao Jiang was able to survive until now because he had always been careful and cautious. This time, he dared to fight with Lin Feng because he had full confidence. Who would have thought that the divine beast Phoenix's gift before its death would create such a terrifying enemy for him? Damn it! Ao Jiang hid in the turtle shell and did not come out. He had all the time to fight with the human expert and was not afraid. However, Ao Jiang knew his own situation, and he knew very well that the hope of defeating this human powerhouse was rather slim. He was seriously injured and could no longer covet any treasures. Staying alive was the most important thing. Where there's life, there's hope. Ao Jiang's eyes were bloodshot as he suppressed his anger. At least, he knew the background of the human expert and the treasures he had. It would not be too late to make plans after he recovered his strength. Now that the ancient southern region had been conquered, his mission was completed. What was left was to claim the battle merits and return to the demon clan with a severely injured body. He could also gain some sympathy, which was not a bad thing. Thinking of this, Ao Jiang's state of mind calmed down slightly. Where there's loss, there's gain. Human, just you wait. Ao Jiang's face was ferocious. Attack. The flames in Lin Feng's hands gathered again, and the power of the Blood Phoenix was infused into the path of constellation. Boom! Boom! Flames shot everywhere. The combination of the fire of engulfment and the fire of rebirth was extremely powerful. Fireballs fell madly into the giant pit. Although he did not know if it would really be effective, at least he could not give Ao Jiang any chance to breathe. Take his life while he's weak. If I can kill another demon king, the harvest this time would be quite great, Lin Feng thought to himself. He had already successfully killed a demon king. The demon clan had a total of 5 demon kings. Losing one would be a huge blow to the demon clan. Fireballs fell one after another, causing the giant pit to become bigger and bigger. Dust flew everywhere, and it was very powerful. However, Lin Feng frowned slightly. What's going on? Why did Ao Jiang's aura suddenly disappear? Lin Feng thought to himself that things were not good. A few fireballs were shot out, but Ao Jiang suddenly disappeared. Naturally, he would not have disappeared. The biggest possibility was that Ao Jiang had escaped. However, this place was obviously sealed, and the airflow during the battle was not stable. How did Ao Jiang escape? Lin Feng pursed his lips and was puzzled. However, the truth was right in front of him, and he would not lie. Ao Jiang's aura, it had indeed disappeared. Among the 5 demon kings of the demon clan, Ao Jiang might not be the strongest, but he was the one who had lived the longest. His defense and regenerative abilities were extremely strong, and he had a cautious personality. Since Ao Jiang could live for so long, how could he not have any life-saving skills? If not, he would have died many times over. Even though Ao Jiang was furious with Lin Feng and could not wait to skin this human powerhouse alive, he still chose to endure it. It was a small world. Before he attacked the ancient southern region, Ao Jiang had already set up an escape route for himself. Even if it was more than 99% safe, Ao Jiang had always been cautious. He had set up an inescapable trap in the ancient southern region and sealed the space. He even hid his unique escape method. He was not afraid of the space turbulence because of the existence of the mark and the existence of the treasure. It was better to be safe than sorry. Ao Jiang's cautiousness saved his life once again. Otherwise, he would definitely die together with the ancient tribe experts and go to hell together with Zhong Yong. Bang! Ao Jiang landed heavily on the ground. The real body of the dragon elephant turtle clan was bleeding profusely, and there was almost no intact skin or flesh on his body. He was severely injured, and the surrounding demon clan cultivators who were guarding the area were dumbfounded. No one knew what had happened to injure someone as strong as Ao Jiang to such an extent. He was a member of the royal clan. Human, Ao Jiang lay on the ground. His eyes were bloodshot, and they contained deep hatred. The next time we meet, it will be the day of your death. Ao Jiang had disappeared. After a few tests, Lin Feng was sure of the answer. What a pity, Lin Feng thought. Although he was slightly disappointed, it was not a big deal to him. A centipede dies, but never falls down. To kill a demon king like Ao Jiang, he had to pay a price, and this price might not be something that he could bear. After all, his doppelganger no longer had any combat power and was in a deep sleep. Only his original body could fight, and the fierce battle with Ao Jiang had consumed a lot of his strength. Moreover, he did not have any reason to kill Ao Jiang. Perhaps the destruction of the ancient southern region and the death of ancient god Wu Feng were related to Ao Jiang. However, from his perspective, other than some sympathy and pity, he did not have any other emotions. After all, his grandfather was safe and sound. Only, rest in peace. Lin Feng's gaze fell on the giant phoenix, and he nodded gently. This divine beast phoenix that was inextricably linked to him no longer had any aura. It was indeed killed by Ao Jiang, and he owed him a huge debt of gratitude. He had to repay it. Don't worry. Although he escaped today, one day, I will definitely take his head to avenge you. Lin Feng's voice was clear, but there was a sense of determination in it. His voice was loud and clear. The reason why he was able to survive and possess such strength was greatly related to this divine beast, the phoenix. It was like his first teacher. It was not in name, but they were connected by blood. The blood that flowed in his body had the distinct power of the phoenix. After bowing 3 times respectfully to the divine beast phoenix, Lin Feng's gaze slowly fell on the distance. In the remaining flames, there was something that made his heart beat faster. It was the call of his heart. With a deep gaze, Lin Feng slowly walked away. The clear sound of Hua still lingered in his mind, and his breathing became more and more rapid. This was something that had been calling him strongly. What was it? Chapter 1503. What an exquisite phoenix fire. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. At this moment, the flames in his eyes were completely different from the flames he saw when he first entered the main hall. At that time, it was the pure rebirth fire, which represented vigorous vitality and strong defensive power. Moreover, the intensity of the flames was quite strong, containing the energy of a peak Saint King. However, the flames in front of him were completely different. It did not have the power of a peak Saint King, nor was it the rebirth fire. However, in terms of the level of the flames, it was superior to the rebirth fire. In the flames, there was a profound phoenix Tao, the energy of the constellation. It is very similar to the flames formed by the perfect fusion of the devouring fire and the rebirth fire. However, the fusion is clearer and more compact. Under the condensation of the constellation, they have become an inseparable one. They're no longer two types of flames. I'm afraid this is the phoenix fire that truly belongs to the starry sky level. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and his heart was slightly shocked. If it was before, he might not be able to see through the mysteries of this small cluster of flames. However, now that he had inherited the Phoenix Divine Beast, his understanding of flames and perception of the Phoenix constellation had a new understanding. Although the cluster of flames in front of him was small, it was extremely exquisite. However, the energy level is far inferior to the previous rebirth fire. Lin Feng thought. As he slowly stepped forward, he had already arrived in front of the Phoenix fire. His heart was filled with endless curiosity, and he wanted to know the answer. What kind of secret was hidden in this flame? What was it that made his heart so moved? Hua! His eyes lit up. Through the flames, Lin Feng could vaguely see and sense many things. The aura was very familiar and intimate. However, it was definitely not his mother, Jia Yaju. Swoosh! A peerless face suddenly appeared in his mind. Lin Feng was startled and slightly surprised. Huang Yin? How could it be her? Appearances could be changed, but the unique aura of every cultivator could not be wrong. Although the aura he sensed was quite weak at the moment, it was indeed Huang Yan's aura. Lin Feng frowned slightly, feeling puzzled. Why would Huang Yin give him the feeling of a mother's blood fusion and call out to him? Wait, there's another aura. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. Although the aura was tiny, so tiny that under the concealment of Huang Yan's aura, it was actually there. It was like a newborn flame. It had the purest aura of the world, the deepest source of power, and bang, bang, pung. Lin Feng's heartbeat quickened, and his breathing hastened. It's her. He had sensed it. All this time, the feeling of his heartbeat and the call of his bloodline all came from this weak life form. It made him feel incomparably close, as if it was his own flesh and blood, a part of his body. The image of the phoenix appeared in his mind, and he seemed to hear a clear wah in his ears. Lin Feng was violently shaken, and his eyes were wide open. Could it be? Ta! Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. He immediately stepped forward, wanting to enter the flames. Although the energy level of this exquisite phoenix fire was high, its power was not strong. It could not harm him at all, so he was not worried at all. But the strange thing was, the moment he stepped forward, that cluster of flames instantly separated, automatically avoiding him. The haziness in front of him was instantly clear. Lin Feng only took a step forward, but he could not take another step. His eyes were wide open, and he was stunned on the spot. It's real. It's real. A murmur talking to himself. Lin Feng was completely stunned. His heart almost stopped beating. What he saw in front of him was a peerlessly beautiful woman. She was dressed in fiery red scaled armor, and she had a face like a fairy. She was dripping with fragrant sweat, and her eyes were slightly closed as if she was weak. Her long eyelashes gently trembled. The phoenix crown was no longer on her head, but her beautiful hair added to her beauty in the mortal world. Huang Yin. It was Huang Yin, whom he had met once before. However, what shocked him the most was not her, but the sleeping baby in her arms. White with a hint of red, like a precious and exquisite work of art. With a sweet smile, she was sleeping soundly. She was surrounded by thick flames, like a guardian, protecting her firmly. It was the phoenix fire, and she was the tiny and weak aura that he had sensed, as if they were connected by blood. Bang! His head felt like it had exploded, and Lin Feng's expression changed rapidly. Everything that had happened that day was like a movie, scene by scene, like a dream, like a fragmented memory. All along, he had been suspecting that the intermittent spring scenes in his mind were real, but he had no way to verify it. But now, everything had come to light. That day, he really had a relationship with Huang Yin by chance, and this baby in front of him was the best evidence. She was his child. That feeling couldn't be deceived. His blood flowed in her body, and her soul had the most intimate connection with his soul. It was the most intense kinship, the warmest and most essential existence in the world, and it warmed his heart. The mystery was all solved at this moment. Hua! As if she had sensed something, Huang Yan's eyes slowly opened, as if she had exhausted all her strength. Their eyes met, and a rare soft light flashed in Huang Yan's eyes. She did not say anything, as if she had lost all her strength. Her weak aura became even weaker. Huang Yan put down her last worry and slowly closed her eyes. That feeling was like dying without regrets. No! Lin Feng said in a trembling voice. His whole body shuddered, and his whole person was awake in an instant. If it was said that he did not care so much before, and his reaction to Huang Yan was just ordinary, then it was completely different now. She was already one of the closest people to him. Although they were not husband and wife in name, they were husband and wife in reality. The most important thing was she had given birth to his child. Feeling Huang Yan's aura weakening, Lin Feng's hands and feet were cold, and he was extremely anxious. Almost instantly, precious star fruits were taken out one by one. Lin Feng did not hesitate at all. He quickly pinched Huang Yan's chin and stuffed the star fruits in her mouth. But there was no reaction. Huang Yan seemed to be in a deep sleep, but also seemed to be completely asleep in the world, unable to wake up. You can't die. Huang Yan, you must not die. Lin Feng's eyes were blood red, and his heart was beating fast, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. He bent down and kissed Huang Yan's lips. A burst of cold, warm breath entered Huang Yan's mouth, melting the star fruits. Lin Feng's eyes were burning, looking at Huang Yan, and his whole person was trembling slightly. The star fruits entered her stomach, but Huang Yan's face did not turn rosy. Instead, it became paler and paler. The hand holding Huang Yan also became colder and colder. Lin Feng was so anxious that his forehead was full of sweat. Seeing his loved one leaving him slowly, losing her life force, but he could not do anything. This feeling, it was very painful. No, he could not let Huang Yan die like this. But was there any other way? Yes. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up as he remembered. The first time he saw Huang Yan, it was in the Phoenix realm. At that time, she was a phoenix, spreading her wings and soaring, possessing the purest phoenix blood inheritance. Phoenixes had the ability to rise from the ashes, and Huang Yan, who had inherited the phoenix blood, perhaps Qi. Lin Feng did not hesitate to cut open his own wrist, and then cut open Huang Yan's wrist. Fresh blood poured out. A terrifying amount of blood was lost, and his body instantly became weak. However, Lin Feng did not feel any pain or hesitation, as his eyes fell on Huang Yan's face without blinking. Even if it was a desperate attempt, as long as he could save Huang Yan, even if he had to bleed all his blood, he would not hesitate. Because he owed her too much. Hua! Fresh blood kept flowing into Huang Yan's body, and Lin Feng's face became paler and paler. However, his face flashed with anticipation and hope, and his breathing seemed to have stopped. Looking at the beauty in front of him, his icy, cold hands and feet seemed to have recovered some warmth. Lin Feng felt that his heart was also filled with warmth, and that peerless face was no longer like an ice beauty, and that pale face had a little rosy. His body gradually recovered its vitality. That's great. Really great. Lin Feng was unable to contain his joy as he kept trembling, but it was no longer fear and worry, but a kind of excitement, an extremely rich surprise. Huang Yan had come back to life. When she opened her eyes again, the feeling was completely different. Huang Yan's face was slightly rosy as she looked at Lin Feng. Her expression contained many complicated emotions, as she wanted to open her mouth but didn't know what to say. After a long while, she finally opened her red lips. "Thank you." A word of thanks already contained too much. "I'm sorry." Lin Feng pursed his lips as he spoke in a low voice. He had committed too big a mistake. Luckily, he managed to mend the pen after the sheep was lost. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life. "Don't blame yourself. This is not your fault." Huang Yan's beautiful eyes lit up as she spoke softly. Her voice was extremely weak. She coughed a few times, and even though she was pulled back from the brink of death, but Huang Yan's body was still very weak, as though she would be blown away by the wind. "Don't say any more." Lin Feng stretched out his index finger as he pressed it against Huang Yan's soft lips, as her face instantly turned red. "Don't worry, I will bring you out." Lin Feng's gaze was firm as he looked at Huang Yan with gentleness, but his words were firm. Even if he had to give up his life, he would not let Huang Yan suffer any more pain. The pair of mother and daughter in front of him were already his closest kin. One was his wife whom he owed a lot, and the other was his daughter who was connected to him by blood. Protecting them was his responsibility. Wah! Hong Ling instantly appeared as Lin Feng carried Huang Yan as he placed her gently on Hong Ling's back. A ray of red and green light flashed past his eyes as a pair of wings appeared, landing on Hong Ling's huge body. Their minds were connected, so there was no need for any unnecessary words. "Let's go." Lin Feng's gaze was burning as his aura bloomed. To leave this dangerous place, to leave the ancient southern region, there was only one way: kill their way out. After a recheck, my recovery is good. Luckily, it's only mild. It's a blessing in disguise. Speaking of which, when it rains, it pours. I'm extremely unlucky as I cut off the flesh of my toes, causing blood to flow all over the ground. But my luck is still good. At least I didn't cut off my hand, otherwise I wouldn't be able to write. Ha! As a person, one must have some Q spirit. Chapter 1504. Their departure this time was completely different from the previous time. At this moment, the heavenly danger zone was completely surrounded by the Demon Clan army. They had crossed the heavenly danger zone and arrived in a grandiose manner without any blind spots. The entire heavenly danger zone was filled with wails and cries. The remaining ancient clan experts were stubbornly resisting, but they were no match for the Demon Clan. Under the leadership of the Peak Sage King Demons, the Demon Clan was far superior to the Ancient Clan in terms of both quantity and quality. This was a massacre. It was an extremely unfair war, but reality was always cruel. The winner was king, and the loser was a bandit. Everyone knew this logic. Today, the Ancient Clan would not show any mercy to the Ancient Clan. This was war. It was cold-blooded and merciless. No one cared about the process, only the results. Victory or defeat. Being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to oneself. Boom, boom, boom. Extremely loud explosions resounded in every corner of the heavenly danger zone. Every ancient clan expert was an outstanding fire spiritual master, and their attacks were extremely strong. Although they were completely suppressed by the Demon Clan, there was no possibility of compromise. The only way to end this was when one side died. To the ancient clan experts, every Demon Clan expert they killed was a gain. They had completely turned their hatred into killing intent. Although they were unafraid of death, there were too many Demon Clan experts. At this moment, the Demon Clan army that had crossed the heavenly danger zone had arrived in batches. Under the absolute suppression of numbers, the ancient clan experts were defeated and the death toll continued to rise. More than half of them were dead or injured. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled softly, feeling a little sad in his heart. But he did not know if there were any descendants of the ancient Feng clan among them. Even if he knew, how much could he help them? Being in the situation, he was in imminent danger. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. Standing on the red silk, Lin Feng glanced at Huang Yan, who was holding her daughter tightly in her arms. delicate body seemed to be trembling slightly. Her beautiful eyes were closed, and her long eyelashes were trembling slightly. Tears flowed from her eyes. Her heart must be in so much pain that she did not dare to open her eyes. Unlike him, Huang Yin had grown up on this land since she was young. The ancient race experts that were being massacred were her clansmen. They shared the same blood as her. Putting himself in her shoes, if it was the humans of the southern region who were massacred today, his reaction would be even worse than Huang Yan's. "I'm sorry." Lin Feng turned his head with an apologetic look in his eyes as he muttered in his heart. Perhaps it was selfish of him to do so, but to him, protecting Huang Yin and his daughter was the most important thing and the most important thing. As for the miserable state of the ancient race, no matter how soft-hearted and sympathetic he could only harden his heart and leave. There was nothing he could do to help. "I'm sorry." Lin Feng gritted his teeth. His eyes shone brightly, and he became even more determined. He had no choice, nor could he choose. This was his fate, as well as the fate of these ancient race experts. The star seal of the Phoenix constellation on his forehead shone even brighter than before. Faintly, a rich Tao of the Phoenix permeated the star seal. The fire of devouring and the fire of rebirth appeared in his hands at the same time, spiraling around his hands like a phoenix. Whoosh! The silhouette of a phoenix could be clearly seen behind him, spreading its wings and soaring. Chi! Hong Ling flew away at lightning speed. His wings landed on Hong Ling's tail, and the branches danced in the air, turning into layers of protection, protecting Huang Yin firmly. Hong Ling knew how difficult the task was. He looked around with a solemn expression. As a martial saint expert, Hong Ling already possessed elementary intelligence. Bang! Bang! Flames spread and surged, and Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. As he sped forward, he killed all the demons and Buddhas that stood in his way. No one was a match for him, and those below the King Sage level were killed instantly. The fire of devouring and the fire of rebirth merged perfectly, and the power of the flames alone had reached the King Sage level. He did not need to use any star source energy to possess extremely powerful strength, just like the abnormal physique of his doppelganger. When any ability reached a certain level, it would be abnormally powerful. Whoosh! Whoosh! The demon race was not stupid, and they would not fight head-on. Especially in such a situation where the battle situation was stable, there was no need for them to take the risk. Seeing Lin Feng's invincible power, many demon race members avoided him, not daring to stop him. Of course, there were some impulsive demon race members who were not afraid of death, but they were in the minority. After all, the demon race had a certain level of intelligence and knew how to distinguish between the strong and the weak. They knew what was called meaningless death. Moreover, this human in front of them, many demon race experts knew how powerful he was. In the demon race army, even the number one expert of the two-faced lion race was killed by him, which showed how powerful he was. One person spread the news to 10, and 10 people spread the news. Ordinary demon race experts did not dare to fight with such an expert. They would have been killed long ago, but Lin Feng's reputation had spread far and wide. But in reality, that was then and this was now. At this moment, if the demon race army surrounded him and launched another fearless charge, Lin Feng would not be able to resist. Because of Huang Yan's existence and his newborn daughter, his weakness was all there. Perhaps Lin Feng could kill a large number of demon race experts, but there would be a time when he was exhausted. Usually, if he exhausted his strength, he could leave, but now, how could he leave? Fortunately, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The situation was much better than he had imagined. These demon race members were still afraid of him. He was very lucky. According to the situation, he could soon bring Huang Yin and his daughter out of danger. As long as he could leave the dangerous land and enter the Nambwa Flame Sea, he would have an absolute advantage. Even if he was surrounded by the demon race, he would have the ability to protect himself. In about an hour, we will be out of danger. Lin Feng nodded secretly. With his speed, he could have reached the Nambwa Flame Sea long ago, but with Hongling's speed, it was still much slower. Many things could happen in an hour. I hope everything goes smoothly. Lin Feng murmured softly. Everything went smoothly? This thought had been hanging in his heart, even though he had killed several Saint King-level Demon Clan cultivators along the way. Lin Feng's expression was still tense. At this moment, the Demon Clan was no longer in charge of this dangerous land. No one knew what would happen in the next second, and no one knew what kind of cultivators the Demon Clan had. Of the two Demon Kings, one was dead and the other escaped. Logically speaking, the Demon Race army should not be able to threaten his existence. But Lin Feng still felt an inexplicable chill in his heart. But he did not know why. The Dragon Elephant Turtle Race's Demon King, Ao Jiang, should be the commander of the Demon Race army. In the Demon Race army, he is definitely the strongest. With him escaping, I have nothing to worry about. But why? Is there still a palpitating feeling? Lin Feng pursed his lips tightly, and his expression became more and more solemn. His heart kept beating faster. It was a kind of intuition, an intuition of danger. It was completely different from the feeling just now. He was very familiar with this feeling. Since he was young, every time he encountered great danger, he would have this kind of warning, and it had helped him through countless tribulations. This time, could it be real? Could there be another Demon King? Lin Feng's heart sank, and his expression changed. The possibility was very high. Even if it was not a Demon King, he might not be able to fight against a Demon Star-level existence in his current situation. The battle would definitely affect him, and if he could not kill his opponent in a short period of time, he would be surrounded by the Demon Race army. By then, there would be no way for him to escape. After all, he had a fierce battle with Ao Jiang and a few battles with Sage King-level demons just now, and his strength was not small. He was no longer at his peak. I hope my intuition is wrong. Lin Feng's forehead broke out in cold sweat, but there was nothing he could do now, and he could only resign himself to fate. He hoped so, but his intuition, how could he miss it? Close, close and close. Lin Feng's eyes slowly lit up, and he could almost feel the huge fire element. It was more profound, and it entered his heart. Now, his perception of the origin of fire was much stronger than before, and the power of the fire contained in the Nambwa Flame Sea was beyond imagination. Even if it was just the flames on the surface, it already had the power of a Sage King. So how strong would it be below? It was hard to estimate. As long as I can enter the Nambwa Flame Sea, I can unleash more than 3 times my strength, and it might not be inferior to my peak state. Lin Feng's eyes were deep, and he pursed his lips tightly. In his heart, the feeling of hope was growing stronger. He would soon have the geographical advantage, and by then, even if he faced a Demon King, he would have the power to resist. Moreover, in the Nambwa Flame Sea, he would no longer be afraid of being surrounded by demons. His own strength was limited, but the power of the Nambwa Flame Sea was limitless, and the energy required to ignite the flames was much less than the energy used by him. Fast. He was almost there. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and his face was solemn, and his tightly clenched fists were about to be loosened. But in an instant, bam! His heart trembled, and Lin Feng's expression changed. Dong! His body staggered, and Lin Feng's face was pale, as he felt an extremely huge pressure descending from the sky and enveloping him. This terrifying pressure was filled with a strong demonic aura, and it was extremely terrifying. Bam! 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 His heart beat faster, and his chest rose and fell rapidly. Lin Feng's mouth was dry, and he looked at the Nambwa Flame Sea in the distance. He could almost see it, but it was as far as the horizon. Even he was shocked by this pressure, let alone Hong Ling below him. He could completely feel Hong Ling's trembling body, and that was a bit of respect for the strong. Hong Ling was almost unable to move. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and looked forward, and at this moment, he felt that the whole world had quieted down. There was no way out. His intuition was indeed correct. No matter how unwilling he was, what should have happened had happened. Many things were destined to happen. Dong! Dong! The earth seemed to be shaking, and it was as if a huge mountain was moving in the distance, crossing the Nanbua Flame Sea. A true colossus was not only in terms of body, but also in terms of strength. It was terrifying strength. Lin Feng looked over, and his heart trembled. It was an abnormally huge body, and its thick nostrils were emitting steam. It was wearing a huge armor, and it was shining with starlight. Its brown eyes were filled with battle intent, and it held a huge mace in its hand, which was shining with a cold light, making people shudder. Its ruthless aura was completely revealed. Giant Bear, Violent Bear Clan, one of the 4 demon emperors, Violent Bear. Chapter 1505. Great Calamity. Lin Feng gritted his teeth as an intense battle intent flashed across his eyes. The opponent before him was ridiculously strong. Violent Bear Clan, one of the 4 royal families of the demon race. Lin Feng's expression darkened as the flames in his hands became even more ferocious. This was a powerful opponent that he had never truly faced before. Such a strong aura that far surpasses Demon King Ao Jiang. He must be Xiong Bao, one of the 4 demon emperors. This time, I'm in trouble. Lin Feng frowned. When it rains, it pours. He thought that he had a chance of survival after the 2 demon kings of the demon army died and escaped. Who would have thought that the demon army still had a demon emperor level expert? Even if he was at his peak, he might not be a match for this demon emperor with the combined strength of his main body and avatar, let alone now. If he was alone, he might have a chance to escape. But now, how could he leave? A massive pressure landed on him, making it difficult for him to move. Lin Feng looked at the southern sea of fire in the distance. Although it was just a short distance away, it was as far as the horizon at that moment. It was absolutely impossible for him to abandon Huang Yin and his newborn daughter. What should he do? Cold sweat dripped down Lin Feng's forehead. He was not worried for himself, but for the people behind him that he had to protect. Everything was interconnected. Many times, many things were destined. The demon king of the 2-faced lion clan, Zhong Yong, had died, and the demon king of the dragon elephant turtle clan, Ao Jiang, had fled with serious injuries. How could the 4 demon emperors sit still? Actually, it was not only Xiong Bao. The demon emperor of the Dragon Bull clan, Niu Yunlei, had also rushed over. However, Xiong Bao had a fiery temper and could not hold back his urge to come earlier. Coincidentally, he had intercepted Lin Feng. A pair of bell-sized bear eyes stared at Lin Feng. Xiong Bao's nostrils flared as he waved the mace in his hand casually, creating a strong wind. So you're the one causing trouble. Xiong Bao's battle intent was strong. Although his intelligence was not high, he was not a mediocre person to be able to become a demon emperor. He could see Lin Feng's strength with a single glance. Xiong Bao was able to find Lin Feng at the fastest speed in such a large area of the heavenly danger zone. Come, human. Xiong Bao's expression hardened. His strong fighting spirit instantly surged. He waved the huge spiked mace in his hand. In an instant, an indigo glow lit up the sky. The terrifying power infused into the mace caused it to grow even larger. It was like a giant, completely compatible with the Bear Fury. Ranked 10th among the Douling sovereigns, Langya. Fight! Violent Bear roared. His strength instantly increased to the maximum. Surrounded by the indigo light, the giant spike club came crashing down like a mountain. As soon as he made a move, he would know whether he had it or not. The space was completely locked down, and the terrifying power was unavoidable. Although the speed was not fast, it was endowed with a unique profundity. It had a strong Tao of constellations, and it brought out the power to the extreme. Lin Feng's eyes were bright, and his heart was greatly shaken. This was the first time he had seen the strength of a demon emperor. Although Xiong Bao was ignorant, his rod technique had already reached the great accomplishment stage. Starry Sky level. Compared to the realm of his spear technique, it was not inferior at all. It already had its own unique ability, and to a certain extent, it was even better than him. Not to mention that the giant spike club was not any weaker than his doomsday spear. Retreat? Once he retreated, Hong Ling would definitely be smashed into meat paste. This demon emperor Xiong Bao was an unreasonable person, and he did not care about his status at all. Lin Feng's eyes were deep, and his reaction speed was also very fast. He did not retreat, but advanced instead. He used the force to leap up, and Hong Ling retreated with a swoosh. Light appeared in Lin Feng's hand, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. At this point, he already had no way to retreat. Shield of Truth, Lin Feng shouted. Light appeared in his hand, and the transparent color was hazy and mysterious. The only key he could rely on to win was this heavenly, unique treasure. Perhaps he could catch Xiong Bao off guard and catch him off guard. The flashing color formed a solid defense. As the main defense of the three heavenly treasures, the Shield of Truth's defense was immeasurable. Xiong Bao did not care at all. To him, he never cared about what kind of defense his opponent had. Using strength to prove one's Tao. The Xiong clan had always been synonymous with strength. Looking at all the races in the Douling world, there was not a single race that could compete with them in terms of strength. This was the pride of the imperial clan. He did not need to do anything else. To Xiong Bao, the only thing he needed to do was attack. Using absolute strength to win. Using absolute strength to break through all the opponent's moves. It was simple, but not simple at the same time. This was Xiong Bao's way of fighting. Even if he knew, Xiong Bao would not change his way of fighting, let alone not knowing about the Shield of Truth, because he had been fighting like this since he was born. Boom! The giant attack landed heavily. Lin Feng's eyes were deep, and he gritted his teeth as he clashed with Xiong Bao for the first time. Bang! The shocking collision shook the heavens and the earth, and it was as if the entire heavenly danger zone was experiencing an earthquake. Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky. Although the Shield of Truth could block Xiong Bao's attack, it could not block the momentum of the attack. Lin Feng was at a disadvantage from the start. No, it seemed so, but the truth was not what it looked like. The Shield of Truth was a defensive-type heavenly treasure, and its ability was relatively strong. Other than the solid defense, the Shield of Truth also had an illusion counterattack. The stronger the attack, the stronger the illusion. At this moment, Xiong Bao's eyes were blank, as if he was a scarecrow. It was obvious that he was counterattacked by the Shield of Truth. He was at a disadvantage. Let's go, Lin Feng shouted, his face twisted. Right now, it was a great opportunity. Whether he won or lost was not important. What was important was that Huang Yin and his daughter could escape. Taking advantage of the fact that Xiong Bao was restrained, it was a great opportunity. In fact, their minds were connected. Even if Lin Feng did not shout, Hong Ling was already flying towards the southern sea of flames. As long as they escaped into the huge sea of flames, they would have a chance of survival. Mystery, 100 phoenixes. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and shouted. The flames in the air rose again, and the 100 phoenixes gathered and descended, their strength overflowing the sky. The Phoenix constellation's constellation Tao merged perfectly. Although Lin Feng was severely injured, there was no way he could stop. Take his life while he was weak. Xiong Bao was tricked by the Shield of Truth. It was a great opportunity. The second time, it did not have the same effect. Boom, boom, the sky seemed to turn red. The power of the flames enveloped the surroundings. Lin Feng's face was firm. At this moment, his sensitivity and control of the flames had reached the peak. Facing Xiong Bao, who was trapped in the illusion, he showed no mercy. Even if he could not kill him, he had to stop him. At this moment, Xiong Bao's body trembled slightly, as if his consciousness was about to return. After all, he was a demon emperor. Although Xiong Bao was tricked by the Shield of Truth, his speed of breaking through was extremely fast. But how could Lin Feng give Xiong Bao this chance? Lin Feng's face was serious. His face was pale. His eyes shone brightly, and power surged out like tide. Different from the battle with Ao Jiang, he could not hide his strength in the battle with Xiong Bao. His only hope was to slow him down. 50% of his soul power. Lin Feng's mind was in a mess, but he gave it his all. His soul power poured out like a tide. The fiery red vermilion bird was like an illusion, attacking Xiong Bao. On the other side, Xiong Bao had just escaped from the illusion. Before he could react, he felt a sharp pain in his head. His eyes were bloodshot, and he roared furiously. This time, it was a real attack. Roar! Roar! Xiong Bao roared crazily as if he had gone mad. His huge bare paws grabbed his head, and he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. The earth shook, and 100 phoenixes in the sky fell like meteors toward Xiong Bao. It was flawless. Let's see how it goes. Lin Feng clenched his fists, his expression tense. If he did not succeed, he would die trying. This time, if he could not seriously injure Xiong Bao with his all-out attack, then what awaited him that would be death. Whether it was soul power or astral power, he had used up a lot of energy and no longer had any fighting power. The 100 phoenixes in their perfect state consumed a lot of astral power. Of course, the more it consumed, the more powerful it was, especially when all the power was used on the enemy. Pong! Pong! The phoenixes swooped down to attack, as if they were committing suicide. Xiong Bao, who was suffering from the soul power attack, was caught off guard and screamed. In an instant, the sea of fire spread out and the terrifying flame power exploded toward Xiong Bao. This was one of the 4 demon emperors who had been famous for a long time. All the surrounding demons were dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Demon Emperor Xiong Bao would fall into a desperate situation from the beginning. Could he block it? No one knew. The Demon Clan experts did not know, and Lin Feng did not know either. His gaze fell into the distance. Hong Ling had already taken advantage of the chaos to enter the southern sea of fire. Lin Feng could not help but heave a sigh of relief. His eyes lit up, and he pursed his lips tightly. However, he did not chase after her to avoid implicating Huang Yin and his daughter. If there was anything, he would deal with it alone. It would be good if Xiong Bao died. Even if he did not die, he would make him direct his hatred and spear towards him. Boom! Boom! The true limit of the flame attack. When the power of the 100 Phoenix was fully unleashed, even Xiong Bao, one of the 4 demon emperors, would inevitably be injured. A series of shocking and terrifying explosions appeared out of thin air. The entire dangerous land resounded with Xiong Bao's heart-wrenching screams. The current Lin Feng's full strength could not be underestimated. But would Xiong Bao die? Would he be seriously injured and lose the ability to fight? Whoosh! Lin Feng's expression changed, and his brows were tightly knitted. Looking at the sea of fire in the distance, although the giant figure was in a sorry state, his aura had not disappeared. It had only decreased slightly. The smell of blood accompanied by a strong, murderous aura rushed towards him. What he saw was a pair of eyes filled with hatred, staring straight at him. Although the giant body was covered in injuries, they were not fatal. Xiong Bao was still alive and well. Am I going to lose? This thought appeared in Lin Feng's mind, and he sighed in his heart. Even after using all his strength, he could only slightly injure Xiong Bao. The difference in strength between them was too great, and it was not something that could be made up for by tactics. Huff! Sighing slightly, Lin Feng's gaze was clear, and he looked at Xiong Bao with determination and persistence. Perhaps he would lose and die, but at least his mission was half completed. Huang Yin and his daughter had completely entered the southern sea of fire at this moment. Chapter 1507. Xiong Bao was injured. To be able to injure a demon emperor-level existence, Lin Feng should be proud. From Xiong Bao's ferocious face and surging killing intent, one could see how angry he was. He was actually injured by a lowly human warrior. His bell-sized eyes were bloodshot, and the hatred in his eyes was not concealed at all. Xiong Bao was furious. To him, this was undoubtedly a great humiliation. Roar! Xiong Bao roared towards the sky as his bare claws were cold. Behind him, the violent Bear Clan's constellation was clearly visible, filled with a strong beast god aura. That was power, a supernatural power that could be seen. Clang! Xiong Bao waved his bare claws in a crisscross manner, and the killing intent in his eyes was exposed. Two rays of cold light formed in X shape and flew towards Lin Feng like an arc of light. The strong aura seemed to tear the space apart. Lin Feng was slightly shocked, but his reaction was not slow. Shield of Truth. The transparent and bright shield of truth appeared again, blocking in front of him. Now, the only thing he could rely on was the defense of the shield of truth. Even if it was a Demon Emperor level attack, it could completely block it. Pung! The spear and shield clashed, and the shield won again. Swish! Xiong Bao's figure violently rose. Although his body was huge, his speed was not slow at all. Langia in his hand flashed with indigo light, and the soaring, domineering aura seemed to be able to destroy everything. The weapon and its master's tacit understanding was like heaven. Lin Feng was shocked. Their cooperation was too wonderful. The huge mace seemed to be tailor-made for Xiong Bao, and they complemented each other. If which Emperor Jiang was said to have maximized the word speed, then Xiong Bao was said to have maximized the word strength. He was the representative of strength. In his current state, even with the protection of the shield of truth, if he let Xiong Bao attack continuously, he was afraid that just the momentum of the attack would drown him. There was no possibility of winning. Lin Feng's gaze fell into the distance. Hong Ling's figure was long gone, and he had indeed successfully escaped. To him, the mission was considered a great success. He had saved Huang Yin and his newborn daughter, and sacrificed his body for this. It was worth it. There were too many trade-offs in the world, and it only depended on which was more important. Come! Lin Feng's eyes glowed. His vast star pupils shone brightly. He was ready to risk his life in his current state. Death was nothing to be afraid of. What one was afraid of was losing without a fight. What one was afraid of was not even having the courage and will to fight. If Xiong Bao wanted to kill him, then he would have to pay a heavy price. Stand. Facing a strong enemy, Lin Feng was fearless. Of course, some things happen when you think they won't happen, and some things happen when you think they will happen, and they stop for no reason at all. Just like the current bear rage. Boom! Xiong Bao's huge body landed on the ground like 1,000 caddies heavy. Langya in his hand was still full of killing intent, but he did not launch an attack. It was as if someone had cast a body-fixing talisman on him. He was inexplicably fixed on the ground, as heavy as Mount Tai, and did not move at all. Lin Feng furrowed his brows. He didn't understand. He didn't understand what Xiong Bao meant. Was he toying with him? Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart skipped a beat as he looked behind Xiong Bao. A powerful aura that was no weaker than Xiong Bao entered the area he could sense. It was abnormally powerful. Lin Feng's face turned pale. The aura was exactly the same as Xiong Bao's. There was no doubt that it was a strong demon. His strength was not inferior to Xiong Bao's. The identity of the newcomer was obvious. One of the 4 emperors of the demon race. He already had no chance of winning against the demon emperor, let alone 2 demon emperors working together. He would die without a doubt. Swoosh! In the distance, a middle-aged man appeared. He had his hands behind his back, looking calm and steady. He floated in the air with a serious face. His eyes flashed with wisdom. However, at this moment, he wasn't looking at Lin Feng. Instead, boom, boom, boom. Lin Feng's heart beat faster, and his eyes widened instantly. At this moment, an incredible aura appeared behind him. It was unusually strong. It was not the aura of a demon. This is... Lin Feng's expression changed, and he was extremely shocked. At this moment, he finally understood why Xiong Bao stopped, and why one of the 4 emperors of the demon race appeared with such a serious expression. It was obviously not because of him, but because of the person behind him. It was him. Crack! The space seemed to be torn apart, and a violently moving gap seemed to have opened its eyes. The turbulence in the space was so strong, and the huge energy aura seemed to be about to shatter the Douling world. Lin Feng pursed his lips and felt the strong reaction of the shield of truth. He felt the strong power, and his breathing became rapid. He did not expect that he would come. Slap! Dressed in a golden robe, with wings on his back, and stepping on the heavenly treasure, he was faceless. He did not show any expression, but he was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. Lin Feng did not need to look back to know who it was. He had seen him once when fighting for the heavenly treasure, and even saw the most powerful battle in the Douling world. He was the strongest man in the Douling world, which Emperor Jiang. Rumor had it that which Emperor Di Jiang, who had been recuperating in seclusion, would appear in this place at this moment. It was unbelievable. Lin Feng was not the only one who was shocked. At this moment, Xiong Bao and Niu Yunlei were also shocked, which Emperor Jiang's name was so shocking, especially to the demon race experts who had experienced the Second Great Witch Demon War. It was like a nightmare. He had come. How could the demon race's space seal stop him? As a member of the witch tribe of Dijiang, who was born with the ability to control space, and the strongest existence in the witch tribe of Dijiang, which Emperor Jiang's attainment in space could completely suppress the space Tao of the great sage of the demon race. Slap! Dijiang's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Lin Feng. Looking at the figure in front of him, Lin Feng felt a sense of familiarity, but he could not put his finger on it. He frowned slightly, and all kinds of doubts appeared in his mind. He did not understand why which Emperor Jiang would appear here and why he wanted to save him. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded in his ears. "Let's go." The voice was calm, and there was an unquestionable tone. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in his mind. His heart trembled slightly. Looking at which Emperor Jiang, his doubts were cleared. There was no need to say anything more, and there was no need to waste any more time. "Thank you," Lin Feng said secretly, feeling grateful. In an instant, whoosh, like an arrow leaving the bow, Lin Feng retreated straight away. His expression was firm. The two demon emperors in front of him did not even look at him. They did not care about his departure at all, and they had no choice but to do so. This was because the strongest man in the entire Douling world was standing in front of them. A huge pressure enveloped them, making it difficult for them to protect themselves. Even if the demon emperors were at the top of the pyramid in the Douling world, even if they had the advantage in numbers, but Xiong Bao and Niu Yunlei had no confidence. Chi! Lin Feng's body was as fast as lightning, escaping from the predicament, escaping from death. To him, it could be said that he had narrowly escaped with his life. Leaving from the back, he took a detour and quickly entered the true natural barrier, Southern Sea of Flames. The surging fire origin energy surrounded him, and he was in the heat wave. And here, even the demon emperors could not do anything to him. So if it's him, Lin Feng's lips curled up into a smile. Even though which Emperor Jiang only said one word to him, but he clearly remembered his voice. It's him, that mysterious buyer, the black-clothed man who asked him to buy a large amount of astral treasure chi. No wonder he treated money like dirt. No wonder he knew so many secrets of the witch clan. No wonder he would take such a huge risk to save him. Everyone had their own value, to which Emperor Jiang, he had a huge value now, so he would not let him die. The astral treasure chi was a key that could change the outcome of the war between the witches and demons. As long as he could provide enough chi to the witch clan, then the demon clan would quickly retreat, losing their advantage like a rolling snowball. The astral treasure chi had already stood out in a few battles. Its usefulness and importance did not need to be doubted at all. He came alone, just to save me. Lin Feng's eyes slightly brightened, thinking in his heart. Even though which Emperor Jiang saved him with a purpose, it was undeniable that he owed him a life, a huge favor. Today, if he did not appear, he would definitely die. It's a pity that the southern ancient region has been swept and massacred, and there is no way to reverse the situation. Even Emperor Jiang knows this. Lin Feng secretly nodded. The defeat was already set. Those remaining ancient race elite warriors were like turtles in a jar, unable to escape the encirclement of the demon clan. Death was only a matter of time. In the current war between the witches and demons, the witch clan was at a disadvantage, which Emperor Jiang had already made his decision, or else he would have appeared earlier. Sighing softly, Lin Feng felt that it was a pity, but there was nothing he could do. War was not something that could be reversed by a single person. He had done his best, but only managed to protect his grandfather and a part of the ancient Feng clan's bloodline. Most of the time, it was impossible to do everything perfectly. What he could do now was to do his best to protect the people around him. Whoosh! Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast, flying forward. He sensed that he was getting closer and closer to Hong Ling's position. In front of him, a blurry and huge figure entered his eyes, bringing with it a familiar feeling. Lin Feng's lips curled up slightly, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. It was Hong Ling. They were safe and sound. They met up smoothly. Lin Feng did not need to worry anymore. Although the demon clan's army was boundless, there were no demon emperors blocking the way. To him, the remaining small fries could not stop him at all. Soon, he crossed the southern sea of flames. Although he had used up a lot of energy in the battle with Xiong Bao, it was easy for him to protect Huang Yin and his daughter with the remaining energy. Along the way, he cut a path of blood. There was no stopping him. Whoosh! Light flashed, and Lin Feng's eyes were blood-red, filled with incomparable joy. Finally, he had left the southern ancient region. I'm back. My condition is not bad. Chapter 1508. Yin Imperial City, Imperial Garden. Everyone gathered together. Compared to the chaos outside, the three imperial cities of Tianling, which were completely neutral, were still calm. No matter how the shamans and demons fought to the death, there would not be any changes in Tianling. This was the safest place. They're all dead, Feng Chao murmured, his eyes filled with confusion. He had lived in the ancient southern region since he was young. That was his home, his hometown, and there were many clansmen there. They either had the same blood or shared the same beliefs. The destruction of the ancient southern region was like a mountain collapsing in Feng Chao's heart. He could not calm down for a long time. Not only him, the other surviving descendants of the ancient Phoenix clan were also in a daze, unable to accept reality. It happened too suddenly. Just yesterday, they were still doing their own things and living happily in the ancient southern region. However, in less than a day, the situation had suddenly changed. Everything was like a dream, and when they woke up, there was nothing left. Their families, their hometown, they were all slaughtered by the demon clan. My condolences. A deep voice sounded. Everyone raised their heads and saw a black figure slowly walking out. His steps were heavy. It was Lin Feng. Lin Feng had just settled Huang Yin and his daughter down. He was also exhausted at this moment. The continuous battles had consumed a lot of his energy. Although his body was tired, his mood was still okay. After all, he had survived a disaster and saved Huang Yin and his grandfather, including learning about his daughter's existence. To a certain extent, it was a blessing in disguise. If the demon clan had not invaded the ancient southern region this time, perhaps he would not have known that his union with Huang Yin by chance had produced a fruit. However, he had no intention to plant a willow tree, and the willow tree grew into a shade. He, Ziyao, Qianqian, and even Yuma had yet to have a crystallization of love. On the contrary, he and Huang Yin did not have any feelings for each other, but they had blossomed and bore fruit. Looking at the sorrowful atmosphere and the sorrowful faces, Lin Feng sighed. How could he not understand what they were feeling at this moment? If he was in their shoes, he would not feel good either. So many of his clansmen had been killed, and his hometown had been trampled by the demon clan. To them, this was definitely the darkest day of their lives. Even Grandpa, who had been through a lot, was still in a daze. Their home was gone. Let's stay here for the time being. Don't think too much about it. Lin Feng comforted. His gaze swept over the wooden faces around him. He knew that they needed sufficient time to settle down and digest this nightmarish day. At this moment, they wouldn't listen to his advice at all. His eyes flickered, and in the end, his gaze landed on his grandfather, Feng Chao. Lin Feng slowly paced forward, his eyes flickering. Sensing Lin Feng walking over, Feng Chao seemed to wake up a little, and their eyes met. "Grandfather," Lin Feng said softly. Feng Chao sighed softly and nodded. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Lin Feng grunted softly. He wasn't too worried about his grandfather. After all, as the patriarch of a clan, his grandfather had experienced too many storms, and what he wanted to tell his grandfather had nothing to do with the ancient southern region. He said slowly, "Grandfather, you really don't have any news about Mother?" Although he had asked before, he was still worried and wanted to confirm it again. "No." Feng Chao shook his head. "I haven't heard from Elegant Bamboo for several months. I don't know how she is now." "Oh." Lin Feng nodded softly and frowned. Just now, he had dialed his mother's communication compass again, but there was still no signal. He didn't know what had happened. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. With Elegant Bamboo's strength, nothing major should have happened, Feng Chao said with a frown. Her strength has already reached the level of an ancient god. Even if she encountered a Demon Emperor-level expert, she would still be able to fight. I'm afraid she accidentally entered an ancient formation and is trapped inside. That's why there is no signal from her communication compass. I hope so. Lin Feng sighed. Even though he said that, his heart was still a little uneasy. But there was no use worrying now. He could only wait patiently. The war had ended. The demonic beast race had won a landmark victory, stabilizing the war and solidifying their dominance on the mainland. Although the shaman race army led by Shi Jiuyin had dealt a heavy blow to the demonic beast race, the demonic beast race had taken root in the ancient southern region. To the shaman race, it was like a bolt from the blue. They had merely killed ordinary demonic beast race experts, whereas the demonic beast race had killed the ancient race's experts from the ancient southern region who were famous for their long-range attacks. The demonic beast race had taken advantage of the situation. Well done, very well done. Kui Tianyuan laughed heartily, beaming with joy. If the Demon Emperor hadn't stood his ground and chosen to carry out this plan, how could we have achieved such a great result? Lam Tok Ti said with a faint smile. You think you're so smart. Fox G snorted. My demonic beast race's losses are not small. Fox G, you're wrong. Kui Tianyuan waved his hand and said righteously, Zongyang's death was an accident. No one can be blamed. Ancient god Wu Feng's strength cannot be underestimated. Zongyang was too careless to be dragged into the Yellow Springs by him. As for Ao Jiang and that human, both sides suffered heavy injuries. It is indeed a little unbelievable. A sharp light flickered in Lam Tok Ti's eyes. He knew who the human Kui Tianyuan was talking about was, and it was the person he feared and hated the most. Then what about Big Brother Ran and Stupid Bear? Fox G's eyes turned cold as she looked at Lam Tok Ti. Who knows if he's a spy sent by the Sorcerer Tribe? If not, why would Di Jiang appear so coincidentally? Kui Tianyuan frowned slightly and said in a low voice, Yun Lei and Xiong Bao decided to go to the ancient southern region because of Zongyang's death and Ao Zhang's heavy injuries to consolidate their victory. This suspicion is a little too far-fetched, and it's too unfair to Lam Tok Ti. Disdain appeared in Fox G's eyes. She looked at Lam Tok Ti coquettishly and said coldly, No matter how I look at it, this human is unreliable. Lam Tok Ti smiled indifferently and said, If I'm a spy sent by the Sorcerer Tribe, the two Demon Emperors wouldn't just be injured. If Di Jiang had a few Sorcerer King-level helpers, at least one of the two Demon Emperors would die, and the other one would be severely injured. The demonic beast race has entered the ancient southern region, and it's a dead end. They can forget about coming out. Kui Tianyuan nodded thoughtfully and said, Brother Lai Di, you're right. Fox G still wanted to say something, but Kui Tianyuan waved his hand and interrupted impatiently. All right, Fox G, that's enough. Brother Lai Di is the hero of this battle. Not only are you not praising him, you're also doubting him. Aren't you chilling him? Looking at Lam Tok Ti, Kui Tianyuan smiled and said, She's just like that. Brother Lai Di, Don't take it to heart. Of course not, Lam Tok said with a smile. To him, although there were some unexpected things in this battle, such as the death of Demon King Zhong Yong, Lin Feng's sudden appearance, and the sudden appearance of Sorcerer King Jiang, etc., the result was still the same. Not only did he help the demonic beast race win the battle, he also consolidated his position and power. Most importantly, the alliance with GE was a win-win situation for him. A large number of demonic beast race experts' corpses and a small number of sorcerer race experts' corpses were all G's gains. According to the agreement, he could get half of it. Those corpses were all Saint Realm experts. Compared to the demonic beast race's unbridled celebration, the ancient race's hearts were filled with grief and indignation. Without the lips, the teeth would feel cold. The ancient southern region's massacre made the other ancient regions' people feel insecure. Who knew if they would be the demonic beast race's next target? As for the other 8 regions, they were in a state of panic, because the demonic beast race had truly entered the hinterland. Even the ancient southern region, which had a strong defense, couldn't escape the fate of destruction. What more them? As the saying goes, after the cunning rabbit is killed, the hound is cooked. As the leader of the 3 major human races, the sorcerer race was at their wits' end. Although they had won the battle, the sorcerer race had toyed with them like monkeys, creating a diversion to the east and attacking to the west, toying with Sorcerer Emperor Shi Juin in the palm of their hands, making him lose all face. On top of the large amount of sorcerer coins collected from the sorcerer race, the sorcerer race's territory was filled with dissatisfaction towards Shi Juin. Ancestral Magus Hall. Why aren't you saying anything? Shi Juin's voice was chilling. He looked around and bellowed. Say something. The group of sorcerer kings exchanged a glance, frowning slightly. They wanted to say something, but no words came out. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the sorcerer race was completely suppressed by the demonic beast race in terms of battle prowess and strategy. In the Second Great War, the sorcerer race's strategy was better than the demonic beast race's, but now they had lost their only advantage. What did they have to continue fighting with the demonic beast race? The situation had become precarious. Propose a plan? If Shi Juin proposed it, the blame would fall on them if the plan failed, but if it succeeded, all the credit would go to Shi Juin. Who would be willing to do that? Moreover, the sorcerer race had fallen into a disadvantageous position in the game of chess with the demonic beast race. How could it be so easy to turn the tables? Are all of you mute? Shi Juin forcefully suppressed his anger, but his expression was twisted. Suddenly, creak. The door was slowly pushed open, revealing a ray of light. All the sorcerer kings, including Shi Juin, turned to look at the door. Their eyes widened in shock as they saw a familiar figure standing proudly in front of them. He did not exude the slightest bit of his aura, but he exuded the aura of a superior. The gloominess on the sorcerer kings' faces disappeared in an instant, replaced by joy. Sorcerer Emperor. It's the Sorcerer Emperor. This is great. The Sorcerer Emperor is back. Joyous cheers sounded in the ancestral Magus Hall. All the sorcerer kings were grinning from ear to ear, unable to contain their joy. In the sorcerer race's most dangerous time, their sorcerer Emperor Di Jiang, the strongest man in the battle spirit world, had finally returned. The only person who was pale was Shi Juin. Looking at Di Jiang's faceless expression, a strong sense of unwillingness and frustration rose in his heart. At this moment, he knew very well he had failed. I'm back, Di Jiang said indifferently. A simple sentence, but it made the sorcerer kings excited. Di Jiang's gaze fell on Shi Juin, and his eyes shone brightly. You did well. Shi Juin, leave the rest to me. Shi Juin's face twitched, and his body trembled slightly, as if he was struggling with a battle between heaven and earth. In the end, he chose to yield and compromise. He lowered his head and said solemnly, Yes, Sorcerer Emperor. Chapter 1509. The wind blew and the clouds surged. The demon clan's great victory this time could be said to have shocked the entire Doling continent, especially the diversion tactic that completely toyed with the Magi in the palm of their hands. It made people shudder. In one fell swoop, it overturned the impression that the demon clan was not good at scheming and was brainless. Regardless of whether it was the Magi or the ancient clans, they had to reevaluate the abilities of the demon clan. The most shocking thing was that the demon clan had already occupied the southern ancient region with a large number of troops. This move was equivalent to setting up a deep army in the hinterland of the Magi. They had set up a large number of troops to open up the main path, allowing the demon clan's current situation to be clear. On the other hand, the Magi were in imminent danger. However, just when everyone thought that the demon clan would strike while the iron was hot and take another city, the demon clan stopped and did not make any more movements. It was as if they had lost the will to fight overnight. They only rested in the southern ancient region. No one knew what they were plotting. Imperial Garden. What were the demon clan doing? Feng Chao asked with a frown. More than 10 days had passed since the bloody incident. Although his heart was still filled with grief, Feng Chao still endured it and chose to accept reality. At this moment, the other elite experts of the ancient Phoenix clan had also turned their grief and indignation into strength and focused on cultivating to increase their strength. They hoped that one day they would be able to avenge their clansmen and return to the peak of the ancient Phoenix clan. In this battle, the demon clan is not as glorious as they seem on the surface, Lin Feng said softly. Oh! Feng Chao's eyes lit up. Lin Feng smiled faintly. Not to mention the demon clan experts who were sacrificed as pawns in the battle with the Magi. Just the demon clan experts who attacked the southern ancient region alone. One of the 2 demon kings died, and the other was seriously injured. In addition, 2 demon emperors were injured. This is undoubtedly a huge blow to the demon clan. Demon emperor? Feng Chao was stunned. Is the news true? Who can injure a demon emperor? Could it be? Feng Chao looked at Lin Feng in shock. Of course it's not me. Lin Feng smiled casually. He was indeed powerless. The battle with Xiong Bao allowed him to clearly understand how terrifying the strength of a demon emperor was. With his current strength, even if he combined the strength of his clones, he would not be able to defeat Xiong Bao, let alone 2 demon emperors. That is, Feng Chao. It's Di Jiang. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he spoke slowly. Shaman Emperor Jiang? Feng Chao was startled as he exclaimed. He appeared in the ancient southern region. Lin Feng nodded. Di Jiang had appeared in the ancient southern region and fought against 2 demon emperors. He was probably the only one who knew about this. Even though there were various descriptions of a war in Yin Imperial City, none of them mentioned which Emperor Jiang. Naturally, Grandpa did not know about it. The most shocking news at the moment was undoubtedly that the Shaman Emperor Jiang had regained control of the Shaman clan. Although he did not witness the battle that day with his own eyes, nor did he see the 2 demon emperors injured, he could roughly guess what had happened based on the fact that Di Jiang had returned to the position of Wizard Emperor and the demon clan had ceased all activities. Furthermore, according to his own estimation, even though which Emperor Jiang might not be able to kill the 2 demon emperors, he would at least be in an invincible position. He possessed the fastest speed in the Doling world and the strongest Tao of space. With the help of the heavenly treasure, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. Even the great sage, the strongest expert of the demon clan, had been defeated by him. Although the 2 demon emperors were strong, they were still inferior to which Emperor Jiang. As for the outcome, his guess was most likely correct. No wonder the demon clan has been so well-behaved recently, Feng Chao murmured, deep in thought. Suddenly wrong. A calm word rang in the main hall, causing Feng Chao's expression to change slightly. The person had come without a sound, which gave him a fright. With his strength, the person could not be discovered at such a close distance. One could imagine how terrifying his strength was. Even if he wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he looked outside the door. This voice was all too familiar. He watched as a black figure slowly stepped in from outside the door. At this moment, there was no longer any sense of mystery, because he already knew his identity, which Emperor Jiang. The demon clan has ceased all activities for another reason. Dijiang's voice was calm, and his gaze was deep. You are. Feng Chao frowned slightly. Greetings, Witch Emperor. Lin Feng stood up and cupped his hands slightly. Thank you for your help that day, Witch Emperor. I will never forget your life-saving grace. Feng Chao was stunned when he heard this. His expression changed drastically, and his mouth opened wide in shock. He had never thought that someone as noble as the Witch Emperor Jiang would actually come here personally. What surprised him even more was what his nephew Lin Feng had said. It was obvious that there was a rather secret relationship between the two of them. For a moment, Feng Chao was a little dazed and could not come back to his senses. Naturally, I won't save you for nothing, Dijiang said indifferently, but without any pretense or hypocrisy. I understand. Lin Feng nodded. Don't worry, I will do my best to refine Qi. I hope the success rate will be higher. Dijiang nodded and did not say anything else. He threw over a ring that was flashing with a clear light and said slowly, Take these materials first. I will come back in 10 days. Although there is some internal strife in the demon clan, I believe it will be settled soon. We must hurry. If you want to repay me for saving your life, help me refine Qi wholeheartedly for 3 months. Is that okay? Dijiang's eyes moved. It was not an order, but a question. Lin Feng looked at Dijiang. Their eyes met. Although he did not know what had happened in the demon clan, with Dijiang's identity, since he had shamelessly made a request, he had to return the favor. Nodding slightly, Lin Feng said proudly, Sure, after 3 months, you and I will not owe each other anything. Okay. Dijiang's voice was calm and resolute. Then he turned and left, disappearing like a cloud of smoke, leaving behind a shocked Feng Chao and Lin Feng, whose eyes were shining, deep in thought. Quite sufficient materials. As the true Witch Emperor, Dijiang controlled enormous wealth and treasures that no one knew about. Lin Feng was shocked when he opened this storage ring. The number of materials in this batch had already exceeded the number of Qi he had refined before, and this was only the first batch. After that, more came. No wonder he didn't even blink when spending money. So his wealth is shocking. That's right. After all, he has experienced the second great shaman-demon war and grasped the pulse of the entire human race. Dijiang has his own foundation, which is not something Shi Juyin can compare to. Lin Feng exclaimed inwardly. Based on this point alone, he could tell that Witch Emperor Dijiang's foundation was far beyond his imagination. This was probably just the tip of the iceberg. As expected of the strongest man in the Douling world, the backbone of the Witch clan. With him leading the Witch clan, if supported by enough Qi, they can compete with the Demon clan. Although the current situation is not good, it is not a dead end. There is still a chance. Helping the Witch clan, is equivalent to helping the ancient southern region. Lin Feng thought. The Demon clan was too bright in the current situation. They could sweep through the human territory in minutes, especially the ancient southern region, which was close to the southern region. It was the first to bear the brunt of the danger. What he needed to do was to balance the strength of the Witch clan and the Demon clan, giving himself time to breathe and allowing the southern region to survive between black and white. In addition, he indeed had to return Jiang a favor. All the way back. I originally sold him 20% of the Qi, but now, I'll sell him 30%. With this batch of Qi, can the Witch clan win back a city in 3 months? Lin Feng's eyes flickered with curiosity. Even though he needed enough wizard coins, he still lacked 47 billion wizard coins after all. If he had enough materials to sell, he might be able to do it. However, it was not his wish to strengthen the wizard tribe and defeat the Demon clan into the bottomless abyss. The Demon clan might have a bad character, but the Witch clan was not a good person either. After the cunning rabbit was killed, the hound would be cooked. If the human race wanted to survive in the Douling world, they could not rely on others or the pity of the Witch clan. They could only rely on themselves. 3 months is very suitable. Coincidentally, my main body and clone need enough rest, especially my clone. He has exhausted too much, and his vitality is greatly damaged. He is yet to wake up. Lin Feng nodded secretly. He recuperated. After experiencing an unprecedented battle, Lin Feng was also exhausted. Moreover, now that he had Huang Yin and his daughter, everything had changed. Now he was focused on his own matters, refining the astral treasure qi, and accompanying Huang Yin when he was free. Looking at his newborn daughter, that innocent face, his heart was filled with warmth. Home. This was the feeling of home. On his body, there was an additional responsibility. There were 2 more people that he needed to protect with his life. Huang Yin and his daughter, Lin Feng. Fenger is growing so fast. Lin Feng's eyes were sparkling as he said softly. Yes, she was accompanied by the phoenix fire when she was born. She has the protection of the divine beast phoenix. No one in the ancient race can compare to her talent. Huang Yin smiled faintly. As a mother, she added a maternal halo, making her even more beautiful and moving. However, Lin Feng knew that she was not feeling good in her heart. Her father died, her clan was exterminated, and even the hometown she grew up in was occupied by the demon clan. Fortunately, Huang Yin was strong enough. If it was someone else, they might not be able to accept this cruel reality. Even so, he had seen Huang Yin secretly crying a few times. Fortunately, she had Fenger to accompany her, connected by flesh and blood, slowly allowing Huang Yin to pass through the most difficult period. His daughter's name was given by Huang Yin. He understood that in her heart, the Phoenix clan was considerably important. There was also her father, ancient god Wu Feng, her fellow apprentices and sisters. Yin, come with me back to the kingdom of Maru. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled as he suddenly spoke. He had not mentioned it before because he and Huang Yin still needed to spend some time together. In addition, Huang Yin also needed to calm her mind. And now, everything had already flowed naturally. Although he and Huang Yin were not husband and wife in name, they were already husband and wife in reality. This point could not be changed no matter what. Huang Yin was surprised, her beautiful eyes flashing with a faint luster. Marry me. In the future, let me take care of you, protect you, become your family. Lin Feng said softly, pursing her lips lightly. A faint blush flashed across her face. Huang Yin lowered her head and made a soft sound, as if she was a little shy. However, in her heart, she knew that this day would come sooner or later. She and Lin Feng had already reached a consensus, and after spending some time together, they had developed some feelings for each other. She nodded her head lightly. Looking at the beautiful woman's expression and actions, Lin Feng revealed a smile, and his heart warmed slightly. Then, he leaned forward and gently hugged Huang in his arms. The last barrier between them vanished like smoke in thin air. The communication and touch between their hearts was enough to surpass the pledge of eternal love. Chapter 15:10. The wedding was held in the kingdom of Maru. This time, not only did he bring back Huang Yin and his daughter Lin Feng, he also brought back Yuma. Even though Yuma still wanted to continue learning armament refining from Lady Nangong, Lin Feng wasn't willing to let her stay in the southern region. Now that the ancient southern region had been occupied by the demon clan, the southern region might be in danger at any time. When something really happened, he was afraid that he wouldn't have the time to take care of Yuma. Even though Huang Yin and Yuma got to know each other last, and their relationship wasn't as deep as Zi Yao's, but now that they were both his wives, they were his family. No matter which one of them he lost, it would be an unbearable pain. Furthermore, if they were captured by the enemy, the consequences would be unimaginable. This trip to the most dangerous place had left a deep impression on him. If something like this happened again, he might not be so lucky anymore. Therefore, taking advantage of the fact that it hadn't happened yet, the best solution was to nip the problem in the bud so that he wouldn't have to worry. And Yuma was very obedient, as she didn't have any objections and agreed without any hesitation. Because she was originally very smart and considerate. It was a joyous and harmonious atmosphere. As the saying goes, 3 women make a show. Now that there were more than 3 women in the family, especially his mother Lin Wanqing, who was overjoyed to see her granddaughter, she was so excited that she couldn't speak. On this side, Lin Yun and Qin Ling had just given birth to their daughter not long ago. It could be said that it was a double blessing, and the family was bustling with noise and excitement. Seeing that all the women were getting along harmoniously, Lin Feng felt gratified. His gaze fell on a Huang Yin. At this moment, there was a sincere smile on her face. It was the first time in more than a month that she smiled from the bottom of her heart, proving that what he did was right. After losing the warmth of home, now that Huang Yin once again had a home and kinship, she would recover very quickly and wipe away the trauma in her heart. However, why don't I see Ziyao? Lin Feng looked left and right, but did not see Ziyao's figure, which was quite strange. His gaze fell on Lin Yun. The latter revealed a meaningful smile and shrugged his shoulders. Lin Feng's eyes flickered slightly. Just as he was about to speak, Lin Shu'er had already leaned over with a grin. She mischievously blinked her eyes and said, "Big brother is still the best. You've silently found another sister-in-law." This, Lin Feng smiled bitterly, but there were too many things between him and Huang Yin that were unclear. There were many things that even he didn't know when it happened, so how could he explain it to his sister? Lin Shu'er's gaze then landed on Lin Yin. She smiled and said, "Admit defeat, second brother. Although you and second sister-in-law are fast, you can't stop Big Brother from being a playboy. Big Brother already has 2. Let's see how you're going to chase after her." As she spoke, she twisted her nose and made a naughty face. Lin Feng shook his head helplessly. Being called a playboy by his sister was also true. No matter what, his younger brother Lin Yun had only married Qin Ling as his wife. He was already the 4th one. Wait a minute. What 2? Lin Feng was stunned as he looked towards Lin Shu'er, puzzled. Lin Shu'er was also stunned. She looked towards Lin Yun and then towards Lin Feng. She covered her mouth and said, "Didn't second brother tell you? Big brother, sister-in-law Ziyao, is pregnant too." What? Lin Feng was completely stunned as his chest heaved up and down rapidly. This news was simply too shocking. Really? Lin Feng looked at his sister in disbelief. "It's true, brother." Lin Yun smiled and said, "I was just about to tell you when Shu'er came over. Sister-in-law is now peacefully nurturing the baby. This kind of lively environment isn't suitable for her." Happiness came too suddenly. Aha! Lin Feng laughed heartily, feeling extremely happy. There's a good saying that one who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune in the future. It seems like my good fortune has finally arrived. This injury was worth it. Very worth it. Lin Feng nodded vigorously and clenched his right fist. He was extremely happy, but he didn't expect that he and Ziyao would have a love child so quickly. Happy events came one after another. Indeed, one could never have too many happy events. It was as if the clouds had parted and the moon had finally seen the light. Not long after the wedding, the clone that had been in a deep sleep and resting in the heart-nourishing pool finally woke up. His body had already recovered, but the continuous fierce battles and his strong will had overdrawn the strength of his soul. That was why he had to rest for so long. Fortunately, there were no sequelae. It could be considered a great fortune amidst the misfortune. Lin Feng didn't stay in the kingdom of Maru for too long. After the wedding, he accompanied his daughters and family for a few days before leaving home and returning to the southern region. Here, he had his own responsibilities. Now that he was the human emperor, the people of the southern region had a lot of trust in him. No matter what, since he was in this position, no matter how bad the environment was, no matter how bad the situation was, he had a hold on. Many times, the situation seemed dangerous, but if he could handle it well, perhaps there would be a light at the end of the tunnel. How's the progress of the God creation plan? Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. It's very perfect. The effect is extremely obvious. Shun smiled slightly, his eyes almost narrowed into slits. The second round of the God creation plan selected young, elite warriors at the Star Ocean level. More than 80% of them have already reached the saint level. Many of them have amazing potential and will soon be able to reach the Saint King level. But, looking at Lin Feng, Shun pursed his lips, wanted to say something but stopped. Continue. Lin Feng nodded in satisfaction and handed a storage ring to Shun. Here's 1 billion Wu coins. Help them as much as you can. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. How could he not know what Shun meant? The better the effect, the more expensive it would be. It was exactly the case of a little investment, a little gain. In fact, he had also guessed that these young warriors at the Star Ocean level were different from the older generation of saints. They were the younger generation who were carefully selected and had amazing potential. They did not reach their current level through years of polishing. Instead, they really relied on their potential to rise quickly. Perhaps, in terms of temperament and experience, they were far from the older generation of saints. However, they were younger, more aggressive, and more courageous. Most importantly, their potential was stronger. Moreover, it was not just a little bit stronger. In time, this batch of young warriors in the God creation plan would become the backbone of the southern region and even the human race. Right now, he was helping them improve a little. Why not? In the future, they would repay him more than 1,000,000 times. 1 billion Wu coins. Shun's expression changed. He looked at the storage ring in his hand in shock, feeling that it was a little hot. It was too much. Use as much as you can. There's more after you use it up. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He said seriously, let's speed up. Since the second round of the God creation plan was so successful, we should start the third round immediately. The number of Star Ocean level warriors is very large. There should be a lot of potential to be unearthed. To him, money was no longer a problem. His cooperation with which King Jiang had given him a sufficient source of income. Perhaps it was still far from 50 billion, but to provide it to the human race, it was more than enough to increase the fighting power of the race. Most importantly, the war was in a precarious situation. Danger could erupt at any moment. He had to be vigilant in times of peace. He had to strengthen the southern region as soon as possible. Comprehensive strengthening was not only for the God creation plan, but also for the young warriors. His own strength also needed to be increased. The battle with Demon Emperor Xiong Bao had made him understand deeply. Everything was fake. Strength was the most important. All right, I'll do my best. Shun nodded seriously, his eyes shining brightly. Lin Feng smiled. He had 100% trust in Shun. He had a heart that was truly for the southern region, for the human race. Seeing one saint after another break through to the Saint King realm, Shun did not have the slightest bit of envy or jealousy. Instead, he felt happy for them from the bottom of his heart. With such a capable assistant, what did he need to worry about? Handing over the matters of the southern region to Shun, he could do his best to cultivate in peace. Which King Jiang said 3 months. To him, half of the time was already enough. There was no need to tell him how much of the refining was true and how much was false. He would not know how the refining of the pyrolite was like. In the remaining month and a half, his main body would be able to cultivate with all his might. He had just fused with the phoenix blood not long ago, so his main body still had a lot of potential to be unearthed. As for the clone, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He already had a preliminary plan in his heart. The increase of his strength could not be delayed. All right, Lin Feng, someone wants to see you. Shun seemed to have thought of something and suddenly opened his mouth. Oh, Lin Feng looked at Shun. The latter revealed a meaningful smile, as if he knew something, but kept him in suspense. Where is he? Lin Feng smiled, but did not ask in detail. Come with me. Shun smiled. Although the Peach Garden was outside the Stepping Star Mansion and expanded, it was also complicated. There were many hidden places, residences, and so on. In particular, with a formation master like Shun, the Peach Garden was constantly changing. Now, there were many cultivators in the Peach Garden. It had already expanded the area and arranged independent residences for each powerhouse. After all, many cultivators did not like to be disturbed when they were cultivating. He's right inside. Shun smiled. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He glanced at Shun, and saw that he did not intend to tell him. He also smiled. He did not think too much, and there was no need to think so much. A light door flashed in front of him. Lin Feng took a step forward without hesitation and suddenly disappeared. Whoosh! The light flashed slightly, as if it had penetrated through space. Lin Feng could see things in front of him, and his consciousness could still react. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed abruptly. Clang! A sound that shook the heavens directly broke his eardrums. Lin Feng's expression changed immediately. The strength of this sound seemed to be able to shake one's heart out. It was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. A rich feeling of power covered the sky and covered the earth with a huge pressure. It appeared as if a mountain was pressing down on him. It was a purple light. The dazzling purple light covered all the colors in front of him. The aura was incomparably strong. A sacred and huge power enveloped him. Heaven-grade treasure. Lin Feng's eyes lit up immediately. The light in front of him was a purple heaven-grade treasure that he had never seen before. How shocking! Any indigo-grade heaven-grade treasure could enter the Do Ling Supreme ranking, let alone a purple heaven-grade treasure. It was the rarest of the rarest, the treasure of the treasures. Yet, it appeared in front of him so inexplicably and carried a huge power. Its owner was... Chapter 15:11. Wow! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. At this moment, he felt a familiar aura through the purple grade innate treasure. He was pleasantly surprised. However, the opponent obviously did not intend to give up just like that. He did not intend to stop his attacks at all. Lin Feng smiled, but did not care. Swoosh! A bright light flashed around his body and formed the shape of a shield. Lin Feng shouted, "Shield of Truth." The most solid defense. It could even block the attack of a demon emperor. Bang! There was a muffled groan after the fierce collision. The purple light suddenly retreated and dissipated like smoke. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The figure in front of him staggered slightly and retreated quickly. His aura was slightly chaotic. Thud! Landing on the ground, the ambusher's eyes flashed with a dazed look, revealing a surprised and relieved smile. Brother Lin is indeed powerful. The purple light dissipated, and a man in martial attire smiled. His eyes were sharp, and his body was well-proportioned and strong. A deep scar could be seen on his bare arm, extending all the way to his back. With a bright smile, it was Juan Macho, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Brother Juan, you have made great progress. Lin Feng smiled. He was indeed surprised. The last time he saw Juan Macho, his strength was less than 1% of his current strength. Now, not only was he a holy king, but he was also compatible with a purple-grade heavenly treasure. His strength had increased tremendously. I hit the jackpot by a stroke of luck. Juan Macho smiled. I see. After listening to Juan Macho's story, Lin Feng was enlightened. Just as he expected, when he and Juan Macho were trapped in the array of 9 bends of the Heaven River in Orange Moon Palace, they saw a mysterious ancient bell. The sound of the bell and the carvings, the 9 bends and the water curtain, combined perfectly. That day, he had a deep understanding of the bell pattern. He had an epiphany from observing the concept and saw the changes in the pattern. He had some gains, but in the end, it was suddenly cut off. After one change, the giant bell returned to normal, and he was kicked out of the game. At that time, Juan Macho had disappeared without a trace. At first, he thought that Juan Macho had left first, but he hadn't seen him for a long time. Only then did he speculate that it might be related to the changes in the formation of 9 bends of the Heaven River and the ancient bell. Now, it was proven to be the case. Zen Spirit Bell? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had heard and seen this name before. It resounded like thunder in his ears. 5th place on the Supreme Do Ling ranking. It was said that it had long disappeared without a trace. No one knew where the flower had fallen. Who would have thought that the great hermit would hide in the city? It was actually hiding in the southern region, hiding in that tiny orange moon palace. Later on, Juan Macho entered by accident and merged with the Zen spirit bell. It could be said that everything was predestined. Yes, this item belonged to Master Ling Chan. After he passed away, it was left in the Orange Moon Palace. Juan Macho said solemnly, "One bell is one world. I have been cultivating hard in the Zen spirit bell until I broke through the bottleneck of the Saint King realm. Then I finally merged with the Zen spirit bell and got out of my predicament." Lin Feng nodded. Treasures had spirits, especially heaven-grade Khanate treasures. Although it merged with the Zen spirit bell voluntarily, it was clear that the Zen spirit bell had a considerable requirement for its owner's strength. Just like a magical beast, it would not submit to a magical beast weaker than it. To a certain extent, it was the same for Khanate treasures. A purple-grade, heaven-grade treasure. It was shockingly rare and priceless. In terms of aptitude, Juan Macho wasn't bad. Although she couldn't compare to Thousand Love Emperor and was even inferior to Shi Jixin and Jin Ji, she was still a veteran after all. She had overcome all obstacles to reach this level. In the case of having the same strength, he was stronger than Shi Jixin and Jin Ji. Most importantly, Juan Macho now had the Zen Spirit Bell. Khanate treasures were very important, especially when it was difficult to increase one's strength quickly. Khanate treasures played a crucial role. When a warrior could fully unleash the power of a treasure, his strength would increase by more than a level. In this regard, Juan Macho could be said to be second only to himself among all the human warriors. Now, he could even go toe-to-toe with Thousand Love Sovereign. Let's see who was the second strongest human. The great Magi Demon War was an abyss of suffering. There was even Ji who interfered, secretly accumulating strength and trying to take advantage of the situation. The ancient race and the 8 great domain alliance of the human race were in danger. The heavenly spirit realm was also turbulent. The various neutral races had their own plans. The entire Doling world was surging with dark tides. However, no one knew that in this small southern region, the human race with the weakest strength lived, but experts kept popping up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. The God-making plan, together with the astral treasure puppet, the strength of the human warriors completely exploded in a short period of time. Under Lin Feng's leadership, the southern region's strength had long surpassed the 8 great domain alliance of the human race. Although it was still not comparable to any of the ancient race's ancient regions. What would happen 1 year later, 2 years later, 10 years later? No one knew. Humans were well prepared. In a short period of time, they went from being in a predicament where they did not even have a single Saint King to now having more than 10. They were even sprinting towards 20. Most importantly, Lin Feng's strength was like a sponge absorbing water. It kept rising, and his strength was increasing steadily every day. In the Sorcerer realm, he had just stepped into the Saint King realm, and in the ancient southern region, he was already able to contend with demon kings. This rate of improvement was truly breathtaking. Now, how much would Lin Feng improve in 3 months? Hiss! 2 separate flames were burning. Lin Feng stood in the Stepping Star Mansion, his eyes shining. The flame of rebirth in his left hand and the flame of devouring in his right burned fiercely, but the luster was completely different. His left hand was far superior to his right. I confused them, but there is a difference in the level of the flames, and there is also a gap in the power level. Lin Feng murmured. His flame of rebirth had already reached the 88th layer before the Phoenix God Beast bestowed its power. And after the Phoenix God Beast bestowed its power, it directly climbed to the peak of the 89th layer. It was already completely saturated. However, even after continuously refining Hua for more than a month, the flame of rebirth was still unable to reach the 90th layer. It was very difficult, because the flames from the 80th to the 89th layer belonged to the Saint King realm, and above that, that was the power level of a Starry Sky warrior. Just like the breakthrough of the spear concept, it was not something that could be achieved with hard work. But what troubled him was not the flame of rebirth crossing the 89th layer and reaching the Starry Sky level. What really troubled him was the flame of devouring. Although he had absorbed a large amount of heavenly fire in the heavenly fire space and fully absorbed the power bestowed by the Phoenix God Beast, the flame of devouring still had not reached the 89th layer. He was still 2 layers away. The 87th layer, 2 layers away, was actually a big gap. The fusion of the Phoenix fire requires the 2 flames to exert the same level of power to be called perfect. Wanting the flame of rebirth to adapt to the flame of devouring is undoubtedly a waste of 2 layers of power. Lin Feng's eyes flashed slightly as he thought to himself. The 2 layers of power were actually very different at the moment. After all, this was a fusion of power. A true fusion was an existence that transcended the level. 2 layers, the power was more than 10 times. And the most important thing was, intuition told him that if he wanted to cross the 89th layer and truly enter the starry sky level of flames, the flame of devouring must first reach the 89th layer. Using the power of the Phoenix fire to test and break through, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. It's not that there's no way. Lin Feng nodded slightly and frowned slightly. The fastest way to cultivate the flame of devouring was to devour other flames, just like when he cultivated in the heavenly fire space. Right now, there was a place in front of him that had the strongest neutral flame. Nambu's sea of flames. Lin Feng murmured softly as his heart flickered. That was the natural stronghold of the ancient southern region. Just the level of the flames on the surface was already not to be underestimated. Further down, the temperature would be even higher and hotter, and the origin of fire would be even purer and stronger. If he could cultivate the flame of devouring in the Nambu sea of flames, the 89th layer was just around the corner. But where there was danger, there was opportunity, and there was also danger. The ancient southern region was no longer the territory of the ancients. It was completely occupied by the demon race. He did not know the situation there. Obviously, the demon race would not care about the Nambu Sea of Flames. They only needed the strategic location of this region, not a place to cultivate. However, if he wanted to enter it, he would have to take a huge risk. Once he was discovered, he would definitely be trapped and might not be able to escape. After all, it was very likely that there were demon emperors in the ancient southern region. Should he take the risk? Lin Feng's eyes flickered, and he was rather hesitant. Let's give it a try. Lin Feng clenched his fists, eager to give it a try. The more strength one had, the more confidence one had. At least, apart from demon emperors, he was not afraid of the other experts of the demon race. Now that both his main body and clone were relatively healthy, even if he encountered demon emperors, he might be able to survive. Why not? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. His main body left. In the star-stepping mansion, his clone also slowly opened his eyes and jumped out of the heart-nourishing pool. After waking up, he was not in a hurry to succeed. He let his clone cultivate immediately. Instead, he observed for a while and rested for a few days. Only when he was sure that his clone did not have any sequelae and had recovered to 100% did he let his clone continue on the path of cultivation. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng felt the best body in the Douling world. His eyes were burning with passion. His clone had an enviable aptitude and talent. Previously, his main body could only look at it, but not reach it. With such a hardware, no matter what he cultivated, his clone's combat strength would definitely be quite strong. Now that he had a suitable innate treasure, he had comprehended many mysteries, and his spear technique was incomparably sharp. His clone had no weakness. If he wanted to strengthen it, he had to improve it comprehensively. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flickered. His body moved slightly, and in an instant, he arrived at the center of the star-stepping mansion. Jade Palace. He had always wanted to explore this place. He wanted to see what kind of secrets were hidden in the most precious area of the star-stepping mansion. What would exist within it? Would allow his clone to reach a higher level of enlightenment. I'm here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he smiled faintly. He slowly stepped forward, and the Doomsday Spear appeared. Chapter 15:12. The Jade Palace. It was the most precious and mysterious place in the star-stepping mansion. Lin Feng looked at the glittering, crystal-like palace in front of him. According to Shun, all the secrets of the Starry Sky powerhouse who left the star-stepping mansion behind were hidden in the Jade Palace. Last time, he wanted to enter, but he was not strong enough and was refused entry. Around him, a transparent wall of light shone. The light refracted in all kinds of colors. It was gorgeous and colorful, pointing directly at the Jade Palace. It had an extremely strong defense. The first layer of defense. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The last time he had broken through this defense, he had expended a tremendous amount of effort. In the end, he had made a breakthrough in his spear intent due to a stroke of luck. Relying on the might of Cloud Rising's Saint King level strength, he had barely been able to break through this first barrier. What about now? Clang! The Doomsday spear flashed. The indigo-level light was like a tiger opening its eyes. Boom! As fast as the wind and as fast as lightning, Lin Feng took a step forward. As his eyes lit up, he stabbed out with the terrifying spear. Although he did not use any complicated or profound spear techniques, he had the Starry Sky realm Tao of the spear and the strongest physical strength. Whoosh! It pierced through like lightning effortlessly. The barrier that had caused him a lot of trouble was shattered in an instant. Unlike the first time he cracked the barrier with a crack, this time he shattered all the defenses of the barrier with a single thrust. This was the sublimation of strength. Step! Lin Feng stepped forward with a calm expression. He hadn't even used any star-sourced chi in this spear, but its power was already so tyrannical that it soared to the heavens. He penetrated the barrier of light. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He took a deep breath. This was a completely different world from the outside. The spiritual energy was extremely dense, and he could even see it. Looking at the Jade Palace up close, it looked even more majestic and mysterious. It was a palace made of crystal, luxurious and beautiful. The refraction of light fell on the crystal and formed a barrier of light. The barrier of light that was shattered by him recovered like water. Shwa! In front of him was a door of pure light. The color of the light was different from the light wall outside. It was completely transparent and almost invisible, but he could feel it. Lin Feng's gaze was light, and his heart was slightly moved. He was filled with anticipation and curiosity. Last time, he had been blocked here. The second checkpoint was defense. This isn't a limitation of strength, but rather a limitation of strength. Lin Feng nodded slowly. He had already tested it before. Although this door could not speak, he could completely sense it. This was a strange energy civilization that could prevent cultivators below the Saint King rank from entering. Back then, he was only a Saint rank. But now, we should be able to enter now. Lin Feng seemed to have moved. He stretched out his right hand and gently pressed it on the door. It was peaceful and docile, just like an ordinary door. A faint energy was transmitted from the door to his hand, making his heart feel warm. There was no resistance, nor was there any intention to attack. The door of light flickered strangely and then opened. It was exceptionally simple and smooth. Hua! Lin Feng's eyes brightened slightly, and the corner of his mouth curved slightly. Sure enough, it was as he had expected. Everything was exactly as he had predicted. Finally, I can see the true face of Mount Lu. Lin Feng held the Doomsday Spear. He was extremely curious. What kind of secrets were hidden in this Jade Palace? Wah! He stepped into the door of light. It was illusory and illusory. It was like a dream. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. The existence of this door of light was as mysterious as a space-time tunnel. It was completely different from what he had imagined. He seemed to have stepped into a mysterious and illusory space. It was somewhat similar to the shattered space-time. His body seemed to be constantly moving forward, but also seemed to be stationary in place. Most importantly, he couldn't move at all. What's going on? Lin Feng's eyes brightened. Around him, all kinds of illusory colors and turbulence streaked past like shooting stars, disappearing in an instant. The powerful energy halo seemed to be restricting him. Now that he was deeply trapped, It was as if the entire space was suppressing him. It was so dense that he couldn't breathe. A powerful feeling emerged. The space and his body were connected, and it was difficult to distinguish them. Suddenly, a change occurred. Bang! It was a violent sound. Lin Feng's expression changed. The change in the surrounding space seemed to be a precursor. The entire illusory space shook violently. All kinds of turbulent energy, all kinds of crystallized bodies, and the shooting stars that streaked past like rainbows seemed to be condensed by a mysterious force. Still again. Then, with a bang, all kinds of energy surged crazily like a tidal wave. It covered the sky and covered the earth from all directions. In the blink of an eye, he was completely enveloped. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes widened. His heart was greatly shocked. His body couldn't move at all. At this moment, he had become the center of the illusory space. All kinds of energy surged toward him rapidly. Under the influence of that mysterious force, his body was connected to the entire space. The energy entered his body almost effortlessly. There were all kinds of energy, and it was extremely messy. Lin Feng was shocked. Even if he had one of the strongest powers in the entire Douling world, under the restriction of this powerful energy, he couldn't move at all under the compression of the entire space. It was like the suppression of a natural enemy, and it was as high as the sky. He couldn't change it. Then he could only frown and accept it. However, most of the time, many things were quite unexpected. For example, when he entered this light door, he thought it would lead to the main hall. He didn't expect to come to such an illusory space, and such an unstoppable thing would happen. And now, all kinds of materials entered his body. He thought it would be a destructive blow, but it was also not what he thought it would be. Hiss, 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 all kinds of materials and energy gathered, fused, and digested in his body. The whole process was very smooth, without any pause. Lin Feng was very surprised. His face had already turned from worry to joy. The rich star source energy in his body increased little by little, like water droplets growing, filling his empty body. Star source energy. This was the most essential requirement of the Saint King level. Not only could it increase one's battle strength, but it could also increase one's strength level. Although the strength of one's battle strength was dependent on many factors and aspects, the increase of star source energy and the increase of one's strength level was also a part of it. Most importantly, the absorption of star source energy was indispensable for cultivation. To become a Starry Sky Master, the first condition was to reach the peak of the Saint King level. And now, his clone was only at the early Saint King level. Although the clone's battle strength was tyrannical, its strength level was obviously holding it back. Extreme misfortune comes bliss. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and his heart moved. His main body had been the first to receive the sacrifice of the divine beast phoenix. Not only had his aptitude and talent greatly improved, but the absorption of star source energy had also raised his strength level to the high Saint King level. Now, his clone was also undergoing the same evolution, but the method was different. Although the speed of improvement is not as fast as the divine beast phoenix's, it is more comprehensive and stable. Lin Feng thought to himself. At this moment, he finally understood what these so-called miscellaneous things were. The essence of star source energy was the power of the starry sky, and the essence of the starry sky was composed of the four great existences: matter, energy, time, and space. And these miscellaneous things that were pouring into his body were the derivations of these four great existences. In other words, what he was absorbing was the true essence of star source energy. No wonder the second defense checkpoint requires a sufficient strength level, Lin Feng thought softly. The first defense checkpoint was more to test the cultivator's ability. Obviously, the owner of the star-trampling mansion did not want to pass down the inheritance to a Saint King level cultivator who did not have any battle strength. The second defense checkpoint was to ensure the safety of the inheritor, so there were restrictions. If he had entered here with the strength of a saint, he would have exploded and died from the pure star source energy. But now, he could perfectly absorb it. I wonder how much my strength can be improved. Lin Feng's eyes lit up slightly, and his heart moved. The battle strength of his clone was, to a certain extent, better than his main body. If even the strength level could be improved by leaps and bounds, then his combat strength would definitely be greatly improved. At that time, even if he faced a monster Emperor-level powerhouse, he might be able to fight. For example, he had reached the peak of the Saint King level. But was that possible? I hope so. Lin Feng smiled slightly, but did not care too much. Fortune depended on the will of the heavens. There was no point in thinking about such things that he could not control. No matter how he thought about it, it would not change the result. So what if it was only a little improvement? At least he had profited. Moreover, even without this energy, it was only a matter of time before his clone reached the peak of the Saint King level with the strength of his clone. One day, I will personally take revenge for that battle. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The battle with monster Emperor Xiong Bao appeared in his mind. Although he had the upper hand, he knew very well what the truth was. He had only used tricks to buy some time. In terms of true strength, he was completely defeated. If which Emperor Jiang did not appear, he would not have been able to escape, let alone win. But next time, he would not be defeated again. On the other side, the clone's opportunity had arrived. Outside the southern ancient region, Lin Feng's main body had already arrived. He was alone and fearless. His body was like a shadow, floating in mid-air. Lin Feng looked into the distance. Outside the southern ancient region, countless monster clan powerhouses were heavily guarded. It was like an important place. A defensive system had been set up around it. Although the defensive power of the protective wall was not difficult for him. If he wanted to enter it, he would definitely attract the attention of a monster clan. But it was also a troublesome matter. But if he wanted to enter the southern ancient region, he had to enter the southern ancient region first. He could not avoid it. This method was thought of by a person. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes slightly brightened. A bright light flashed past, and his figure instantly disappeared. It was as if he had already come up with a plan. Chapter 15:13. To Lin Feng, it was not difficult for him to force his way in. The defensive power of the barrier could at most stop warriors below the saint level. However, it would not do him any good to force his way in. After all, the ancient southern region was now under the control of the Demon Clan. How many powerful Demon Clan warriors where there was a big question mark? Many things should be avoided if possible. Bang! Bang! Violent explosions sounded in all directions of the ancient southern region. Balls of blazing fireballs bombarded the ground wildly. In an instant, ghostly wails and howls could be heard. The Demon Clan warriors were in chaos and roaring in anger. It was a tall woman with short, fiery red hair and dressed in red dragon scale clothes. She had a flawless face and an exceptionally perfect figure. However, her killing intent was chilling. She waved her hands and revealed her saint-level aura. It was hard to imagine that such a beautiful woman was killing like a god of death. The intensity of the flame she released was far greater than any of the Demon Clan warriors here. Her appearance caused the Demon Clan army to be in complete chaos. Hongling, roar, roar. Roars filled with extreme anger rose one after another. The Demon Clan warriors swarmed forward. However, in the face of Hong Ling's terrifying attacks, they could not even get close to her. In the blink of an eye, corpses were strewn everywhere. It was a tragic sight. With Hong Ling's strength, she could even fight saint-level Demon Clan warriors, let alone these small fries. Complete subjugation. The Demon Clan army swarmed forward from all directions. The originally complete defense shattered like a mirror in an instant, and it was impossible for it to be restored. Indeed, a motley crew. Lin Feng smiled calmly. He could sense that the Demon Clan warrior's strength was under his control. Otherwise, he would not have allowed Hong Ling to appear and trample these so-called Demon Clan warriors. To be sent here as guards, it was obvious how strong they were. At least, there were no Saint King-level demons. Moreover, there were many different demon clans, and their discipline was quite poor. With a casual stir, the demon clan was already in chaos. At this moment, there were flaws everywhere. Whoosh! Whoosh! The barrier kept flashing. Many demon clan warriors had entered to look for reinforcements. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. His body turned into a shooting star and pierced into the barrier in a quiet corner like a needle. Whoosh! His figure instantly disappeared. He blended in easily. Lin Feng floated in the air, his expression calm and composed. To him, this kind of defense was like a piece of paper. There were at least a few ways to enter the ancient southern region without anyone noticing. As for Hong Ling, there was no need to worry at all. Once he entered, Hong Ling would quickly leave, and he would absolutely not linger in battle. Hong Ling appeared in the form of a human and displayed the strength of a fire spiritual master. The demon clan experts would only think that he was a remnant of the ancient clan who had come to avenge the ancient southern region. No matter how he thought about it, he would never have guessed that the red silk was just a cover. However, this was only the beginning. It still depends on luck. Lin Feng's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. There was still a long way to go from here to the Nanbo Flames Sea, and with his speed, no one below the Saint Realm would be able to see him. But if it were his clone, no one below the Saint King Realm would be able to detect him. Even if they had sharp eyes, they wouldn't be able to keep up with his speed. But demon kings and demon emperors couldn't be ignored. Once I'm discovered by a demon king or demon emperor on the way, it will be troublesome. Lin Feng nodded slowly, but he was already mentally prepared. At worst, he would fight. There was nothing to be afraid of. Although his strength was not as strong as a demon emperor, he was confident that he could fight against a demon king. How many demon emperors were there in the entire demon clan? Only 4. And according to the news, 2 of the demon emperors were injured and must be recuperating now. The distance from here to the Nanbo Flame Sea was not short, but it wasn't long either. There was no reason for him to be so unlucky as to encounter one of the other 2 demon emperors, right? Whoosh! Lin Feng's body was as fast as lightning as he flew away. There was no need to think too much. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Since he was prepared for the worst, there was no need to hesitate. Some things should wait until it happened. In the Jade Palace, the starlight was bright. Lin Feng closed his eyes and relaxed his body. Wrapped in powerful energy, Lin Feng's consciousness seemed to be in trance. His heart was relaxed, and his mind was at peace. Pure and powerful energy nourished his meridians and flowed through his body, perfectly combining with his cells and penetrating his skin bit by bit. His physique didn't need to be strengthened anymore. For him, he could feel the improvement of his star source energy every moment. This was a real qualitative change. The starlight was dense, and his body seemed to be glowing. Lin Feng breathed deeply. In a short time, his strength had increased tremendously. From the beginner Saint King realm to the intermediate Saint King realm, it was like sleeping like a dream. It was so incredible. His strength was increasing with every passing moment. The strength of his star source energy was the most basic and direct. More, purer, and more pure. If I can directly absorb it to the peak and reach the peak Saint King realm with the combat power of my clone, I might be able to compete with a demon emperor. Let's see who is stronger in the end. Lin Feng pondered. At this moment, he really wanted to have enough strength and combat power to truly establish himself in the Do Ling world. He didn't want the situation in the ancient southern region to happen again. Next time, he didn't want his fate to be in the hands of others, but in his own hands. With stronger strength, he had more confidence to protect what he wanted to protect. Shua, the starlight energy bloomed again. Lin Feng was completely immersed in it, greedily absorbing the pure energy. As the strength of his main body increased, his clone's luck also turned from bad to good. His strength increased rapidly. Here, every minute and second was a blessing from the heavens. Meanwhile, in the ancient southern region, every minute and every second was torture. Everyone was nervous and excited as they passed. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he gritted his teeth. The road to the Southern Sea of Flames was actually the road to the deepest part of the ancient southern region. It was a great path. Since it was a great path, it was inevitable when encountering demon race experts. Although he had avoided many along the way, it was difficult to avoid all of them. He had quietly killed countless demon race experts along the way, and his speed kept increasing. He had to reach the Southern Sea of Flames before the demon race discovered him. At that time, even if the demon race knew that someone had infiltrated the ancient southern region, it wouldn't be easy to find him. After all, the Southern Sea of Flames was boundless and too powerful. It should be soon. Lin Feng pursed his lips, his eyes shining. He had actually walked this path many times, so he was quite familiar with it. He didn't need to deliberately look for it. Even if he took a detour, he could still find it clearly because the Southern Sea of Flames was the landmark of the entire ancient southern region. It was the hottest area and the area with the richest fire source energy. As a fire spirit master, he was the most sensitive to fire source energy. Close bit by bit. Another 5 minutes will be enough. Lin Feng's chest rose and fell slightly. At this moment, his heart was filled with hope. However, how could everything in a world go according to one's wishes? Accidents could happen at any moment, and plans often couldn't keep up with changes. Lin Feng's guess was right. The ancient southern region had already become the demon race's base camp, and the demon race's army was stationed there. Otherwise, why would they send so many demon race experts to guard the ancient southern region? This place had already become a fulcrum for the demon race to attack the Magi race. The ancient southern region's geographical location was quite good. Not only was it in the hinterland, but it was also close to the Magi race's territory. There were also human territories around it. The other 6 ancient regions were extremely important strategic areas in the war. Occupying this place, the demon race could attack or retreat. They could attack as they pleased. Of the 4 demon monarchs, Niu Yunlei and Xiong Bao were indeed injured. However, the ancient southern region still had Kuei Tianyuan holding down the fort. Moreover, the military advisor, Lam Tok Ti, was also there. Not only that, some of the demon kings and demon stars had entered the ancient southern region to recuperate and wait for war to break out at any time. Among them was the Flaming Tiger Clan's demon star, Wang Huang. Flaming Tiger Clan, one of the 12 demon stars of the demon race. Due to the strength of the Blood Tiger Clan and their supreme status in the demon race, the Flaming Tiger Clan was considered one of the best among the 12 demon stars. Moreover, their talent and aptitude were also quite outstanding. They were the clan with the strongest fire ability among the 12 demon stars. Wang Huang's strength was close to that of a demon king. He was Kuei Tianyuan's trusted aide and one of his most reliable subordinates. At this moment, he was hovering above the Nambwa Sea of Flames, looking down at the blazing Nambwa Sea of Flames below. Wang Huang frowned. The word king that seemed to be formed by flames on his forehead was exceptionally clear, like a jumping soul. Wang Huang muttered to himself. He seemed to be cultivating. The rich flame energy stimulated his strength to increase and stimulated his comprehension of the mysteries. Geographical advantage was very important to a warrior. He was naturally domineering. Wang Huang stood high above. The other experts of the Flaming Tiger Clan could only obediently guard at the side, not daring to disturb him. The demon race valued strength and status the most. Wang Huang's strength was fundamental. There was no doubt about it. This point could be seen from the gazes of the experts of the Flaming Tiger Clan. Respect, worship, and heartfelt admiration. Suddenly, the energy exploded and the starlight dimmed. The Flaming Tiger Demon Star, Wang Huang, woke up from his state of comprehension and cultivation. A pair of bright eyes looked into the distance, carrying a rich killing intent. Intense star source energy surged. It was as if he had seen an enemy, fierce and fiendish. Oh no! Lin Feng's expression changed. He was only a short distance away from the Nambwa Sea of Flames, but he did not expect to be discovered at this moment. The enemy's strength was abnormally terrifying. What powerful strength! Lin Feng's heart sank. Although it was just a feeling of aura, he could judge many things from the aura. Courageous and concise. The enemy that he had never met must be a brave person. The moment his aura collided with his, the first thing he did was provoke him, revealing his killing intent. His strength was comparable to Demon King Ao Zhong's. This is troublesome. Lin Feng frowned. Chapter 15:14. The Nambwa Sea of Flames was already close at hand. However, the threshold in front of him forcibly blocked his path. Lin Feng pursed his lips and frowned slightly. He instantly made a decision. Swish! He immediately left and took a detour. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and his body moved like a phantom. He knew very well that he couldn't shake off the expert whose strength was close to the Demon King level with his speed. He would also attract more experts from the Demon Clan by taking a detour. However, he had no other choice. In front of him, other than the expert whose strength was close to the Demon King level, there were many other experts from the Demon Clan. Once he entered a fierce battle, the situation, he would definitely be in great danger. As expected, he followed me. Lin Feng moved lightly. The moment he escaped, the expert whose strength was close to the Demon King level rushed out. He was fearless. Clearly, he was quite belligerent. Not only him, but other experts from the Demon Clan also followed. From afar, he could faintly hear the fierce roars of beasts. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Although the situation was not good, he had to calm down. There was a way out. As long as I can enter the Nambwa Sea of Flames in the shortest time possible, I will be safe, Lin Feng thought to himself. The Nambwa Sea of Flames was not only a natural barrier, but also an excellent geographical location. If he could enter and borrow the strength of the strongest neutral flame in the Douling world, let alone a Demon King, he was confident that he could even fight against a Demon Emperor Xiangbao. Perhaps he would still lose, but at least he would have the strength to fight and wouldn't lose so completely like last time. So what if the Demon Clan knew that he was in the Nambwa Sea of Flames? The Nambwa Sea of Flames was enormous. The bottom of the Sea of Flames was mysterious and unpredictable. It contained endless flames and endless secrets. Lin Feng increased his speed again, his eyes filled with determination. He had learned a lot of information about the Nambwa Sea of Flames from Huang Yan. Even ancient god Wu Feng had not explored the entire Nambwa Sea of Flames. This was because there were even starry sky level flames at the bottom of the Nambwa Sea of Flames. Roar! Roar! Beast roars rose and fell, shaking the entire ancient southern region. With the Flaming Tiger Clan's demon star, Wang Huang, as the leader, they had already issued a bounty to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng's calculations weren't wrong at all. Wang Huang wasn't a reckless man. Although he was extremely confident in his own strength, he still made arrangements to spread the news of Lin Feng's whereabouts. 1 spread the news to 10, 10 spread the news to 100. This place was close to the demon's encampment. Demon Emperor Kuei Tianyuan was presiding over it. Where could Lin Feng escape to? It's about time. Lin Feng's eyes flashed as he pursed his lips. He had no other choice. Although exposing his whereabouts was the worst outcome, he had already prepared for the worst from the moment he entered the ancient southern region. Although the current situation was terrible, at the very least, he was close to the Nambwa Sea of Flames. In a short span of a few dozen seconds, he had entered a relatively empty area. It was very important. At the very least, he would be able to face an expert whose strength was close to the Demon King level alone without being attacked by other demons. Ta! Dong! His footsteps changed, and his body twisted fiercely. Lin Feng's hands flashed with dense flames. The power of the Blood Phoenix was bestowed upon his entire body, and his explosive power was astonishing. The mysteries were displayed extremely quickly. His will and strength arrived, and his body rapidly changed. After finishing the circle, his target was the Nambwa Sea of Flames. Very close. Only 10 seconds. In 10 seconds, he would be able to enter the Nambwa Sea of Flames. Lin Feng clenched his fists tightly. He was very clear in his heart that the numbers appeared like a countdown timer, 1 second after another. The dense power of the flames in front of him seemed to have increased his phoenix fire by a level. The fiery red color reflected in the air was enchanting and beautiful. But this was a threshold. No matter how he avoided it, he couldn't avoid it. Roar! A wild roar, a tiger's roar that shook the heavens and earth. His entire body was covered in raging flames as he charged through the air, blocking the center. Flaming Tiger Clan, one of the 12 demon stars, Wang Huang. Berserk, battle intent radiating in all directions. Wang Huang's appearance broke the stalemate in an instant, like a mirror shattering. Flames radiated in all directions. The king character on Wang Huang's forehead emitted a fiery red light. His claws were so red that they seemed to be oozing blood. His trembling body was not due to fear, nor was it trembling. It was a terrifying power that could not be suppressed. It exploded in an instant. Chi, chi. Flaming tigers flew out from Wang Huang's hands, seemingly real but also illusory. The attack technique was similar to that of a heavenly spirit master, but also like that of a heavenly god. The flaming tiger's attack power was quite fierce, covering the sky and covering the earth without any blind spots. The rich fire source, mixed with the peak Saint King level star source force, was obvious as soon as they attacked. The momentum was quite strong. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes brightened. The flaming tigers in front of him condensed a part of the flames that were from the Nombuous Sea of Flames. The opponent was not only brave and fierce, but also knew how to take advantage of the terrain. This wasn't borrowing, but true possession, taking the flames of the Southern Sea of Flames as his own. Just this point alone revealed a piece of information. This expert of the Flaming Tiger Clan possessed a miraculous treasure that could store or absorb flames, and even possess an even stronger ability. But he was not the only one with this ability. Wah! Light flashed, and a dazzling blue light appeared in Lin Feng's hands. Dual polar blue flame bead. Chi, chi. His speed did not decrease at all. Facing the attack of this Flaming Tiger Clan powerhouse in front of him, Lin Feng did not even think about dodging. These flaming tigers seemed to be very powerful, brandishing their claws and teeth and roaring continuously. But in fact, their essence did not change at all. They were made of flames, triggered by mysteries. Simply put, they were flames. Disregarding the ability of the dual polar blue flame bead, just the fact that it had a very strong characteristic, it could absorb flames. To be precise, it could absorb flames that did not exceed its capacity. Wah! Wah! The blue light instantly shone again. The flaming tigers touched the dual polar blue flame bead and were instantly extinguished like illusions. The flames erupted, but were absorbed like wisps of smoke, disappearing without a trace. The strange change and the sudden blue light startled Wang Huang, causing him to widen his eyes. He had met all kinds of opponents, but he had never seen anyone who could block his attacks so easily. However, there was no time for Wang Huang to be surprised. In front of him, Lin Feng was rushing over, and his speed was not slow at all. The rich flame light was already blooming, and his fighting spirit was boiling. Fight! 100 Phoenix! Lin Feng clenched his teeth and shouted. Behind him, the power of the Blood Phoenix was completely condensed. He could control the 100 Phoenix as he wished, and it was a step further than before. These days of cultivation were not in vain. Compared to the first time he absorbed the Phoenix blood in the main hall, it was now perfectly integrated into his body. He did not need to rely on the Doomsday Spear. The doppelganger had the Starry Sky Realm Spear concept, but the main body had not yet arrived. In comparison, the current flame attack was purer and more concise. The moves of a fire spiritual master could show the true strength of the main body. The phoenix behind him was very real. Every feather seemed to be burning with flames. The phoenix fire outside his body was astonishing and abnormally rich. Lin Feng's attack power was completely unleashed. Boom! Boom! Countless phoenixes swooped down from the sky like meteors crashing down. In an instant, Wang Huang's expression changed. As an expert who also cultivated the Tao of Fire, he understood his opponent's strength better. He could directly feel Lin Feng's strength. Although he was extremely unwilling, Wang Huang knew that he was inferior to his opponent at this moment. Dodge! Wang Huang's eyes flashed, but he was not stupid. There was no need for him to fight the human in front of him head-on. As long as he restrained him and waited for the Demon Emperor Kuei Tanyuan to arrive, then he would be able to make a great contribution without any effort. If he guessed correctly, such a powerful human must be the one who turned the demon army upside down in the battle of the ancient southern region. Lin Feng. Chi. Flames flashed like a fairy. The ferocious tiger opened its bloody mouth. Wang Huang's footsteps were skillful. He retreated slightly and did not fight Lin Feng head-on. A strong defense was displayed. Wang Huang's eyes flashed slightly. At this moment, his calm state of mind and extremely strong battle power were fully displayed. He indeed had the strength to fight against the Demon King. As expected, Lin Feng thought to himself. The opponent in front of him was indeed difficult to deal with as he expected. Perhaps he was not as strong as the Demon King Ao Jiang in terms of strength, but his battle power was comparable. Such an opponent was the most troublesome for him now, because it was not easy to kill him. Once he was restrained, he would be in a dangerous situation. But, from the beginning, he had never thought of fighting with him. Now was not the time to fight. Ta! Rumble! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He sped up again and changed his direction to attack Wang Huang. Wang Huang fell into his trap. Seeing the boundless power of the 100 phoenixes, he retreated and blocked. His body was as light as a swallow, but he did not know that he had fallen into Wang Huang's trap. Very good. Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile. Whoosh! His body turned instantly like a spinning top and changed direction. The 100 phoenixes in the void charged down again with flames burning to the sky. However, they had completely blocked his escape route. One after another, the layout was exceptionally perfect. At this moment, there was nothing in front of him. There was nothing else. Swoosh! Lin Feng shot out like an arrow. He was unstoppable. In front of him, the Nambwa Sea of Fire entered his eyes. It was a vast expanse. The rich origin of fire made his strength boil and his heart jump with joy. The only way out had appeared. At this moment, there were no more obstacles. Countless beasts roared in the surroundings. They were filled with extreme anger and had already gathered from all directions. However, they were still one step too late. Wang Huang's expression was extremely ugly. His eyes were about to burst, and his teeth were chattering. However, he could not move a single step. He could only watch as Lin Feng entered the Nambwa Sea of Fire. In front of him, the 100 phoenixes roared loudly and completely blocked his escape route. He had no choice but to watch as Lin Feng's figure gradually disappeared from his sight. Damn it! Wang Huang clenched his fists. His veins were popping out. He was completely tricked by this human. Chapter 15:15. Nambwa Sea of Fire. At this moment, the formation was extremely huge. A burly man in golden armor stood proudly in the sky, looking down. His blood-red eyes were sparkling, and the Golden King character on his forehead was eye-catching. The Emperor's aura was undoubtedly obvious. His existence made the surrounding demon experts change color. At this moment, they all half-knelt on the ground, extremely respectful. Demon Emperor Kuei Tianyuan. He was one of the top demon experts, the famous Blood Tiger Emperor. At this moment, there were two great experts standing on his left and right. They were like his left and right hands, complementing each other. Human Lin Feng. Kuei Tianyuan's tiger-like eyes sparkled as he looked at the boundless sea of fire in front of him. He did not look at Wang Huang beside him and said in a deep voice, "Are you sure he is in the Nambwa Sea of Fire?" "Yes, Demon Emperor," Wang Huang said seriously. Wang Huang said seriously. After Lin Feng entered the Sea of Fire, I sealed this place. There is no way he can escape. Is that so? Kuei Tinyuan's voice was low, and his eyes flashed slightly. This guy went through so much trouble and risked his life to enter the Nambwa Sea of Fire. He must be up to something. Lam Tok Ti's expression was calm as he said slowly, "Moreover, he has killed our experts time and time again. He has disrupted the battle and damaged the demon army's morale. The demon emperor will not let him go so easily." Although his voice was calm, there was an undetectable hatred in it. In terms of hatred for Lin Feng, there was probably no one here who could compare to him. However, Lam Tok Ti was very clear about his identity. He did not incite them with great fanfare. Instead, he analyzed from the outside and instigated them from the standpoint of the demon race. He was quite smart. Kuei Tinyuan nodded thoughtfully, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Lam Tok Ti's words were deep in his heart. If he allowed Lin Feng to come and go freely in the demon race's territory, as the demon emperor, he would lose face. But, looking at the vast sea of fire, Kuei Yuan frowned slightly, somewhat fearful. After all, he was not a fire vein martial artist. Fighting in the southern sea of flames would not only not occupy any geographical advantage, but would also consume some of his strength. On the contrary, that human Lin Feng, after hearing Wang Huang's analysis, was clearly a powerful fire spiritual master. His strength was even comparable to that of a demon king. If they were to fight in the southern sea of flames, the outcome was hard to predict. However, at this moment, all the demon clan experts were staring at him, as if they were riding a tiger and could not get off. "Wang Huang, listen up." Kuei Tianyuan did not hesitate for long. His gaze turned cold as he shouted, "Your subordinate is here." Wang Huang cupped his hands and said seriously, "Lead the Flaming Tiger clan and search the Nambwa Flame. See carefully for me. You must find that human Lin Feng, even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground and force him out of the Nambwa Flame Sea." Kuei Tinyuan's voice was like a bell, full of arrogance. He clenched his fists and released a terrifying power that made the hearts of the demon clan experts tremble. "When the time comes, I will kill him with my own hands." Kuei Tianyuan's killing intent was awe-inspiring. Wang Huang's eyes also lit up. He raised his head and said loudly, "Your subordinate obeys." Bang, bang, bang. Following Kuei Tianyuan's order, Wang Huang led the Flaming Tiger clan experts into the southern Sea of Flames. As a fire vein martial artist, he was naturally familiar with this land of flames. Not only Wang Huang, but the Flaming Tiger clan experts had been cultivating in the southern Sea of Flames for many days. They were very familiar with the terrain and environment. It could even be said that they were like fish in water. They fell into the sea like dragons, and the search area covered the sky and earth. However, the southern Sea of Flames wasn't small. Not only was it vast, even ancient goddess Wu Feng didn't know how deep it was. Searching for a powerful Saint King-level fire spirit master in this vast sea was easier said than done. In fact, Lin Feng had already entered the center of the southern Sea of Flames, the place where the flames were the densest and purest. "It's here." Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His body was completely immersed in the vast sea of flames, becoming one with it. The Great of the Phoenix Fire was completely superior to the flames in the southern Sea of Flames. At this moment, it was like an emperor had descended, making it difficult for other flames to approach. The feeling was very clear. He clearly remembered the first time he came to the southern Sea of Flames. It was here. He was very clear about the purpose of taking such a huge risk to enter the southern ancient region and the enemy's lair. Cultivation. Since it was cultivation, he had to find the most perfect and suitable place for him to cultivate. Moreover, the chances of him being discovered in the center of the southern Sea of Flames were undoubtedly lower. The deeper he went, the stronger the flames, the safer he would be. This in itself was a natural barrier. Gee, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His body slowly sank into the sea of flames like a falling leaf. A little. Lin Feng closed his eyes. The phoenix fire burned clearly around his body, guarding his surroundings. The feeling was very clear. As he sank, the power of the flames became stronger and stronger. The energy became more and more abundant. This place was like a treasure trove, inexhaustible. The rich flames had a deep desire, making him desperate to possess and conquer. Early Saint King Realm, Middle Saint King Realm, High Saint King Realm. The power of the flames continued to increase. Lin Feng stopped falling. His body seemed to be frozen in midair. The surrounding flames whistled, full of powerful attacks. It was completely different from the flames above the southern sea of flames. At this moment, clusters of flames attacked fiercely without any scruples. High Saint King Realm, a neutral flame close to the peak of Saint King Realm. It's here, Lin Feng muttered softly. The phoenix flames outside his body seemed to instantly separate from his main body. A faint layer of rebirth flames protected his body, while the other layer of engulfing flames with extreme, offensive power launched a counterattack without hesitation. Bang! Bang! The flames jumped, and the moment they came into contact with the flames outside, they began to devour wildly. These were flames of the same energy level, but the devouring flames were superior in quality and characteristics, completely restraining the flames of the southern sea of flames. In the first confrontation, he had the absolute advantage in strength. Although a few flames passed through the devouring flames to attack him, they could not overcome the defense of the rebirth flames. The devouring flames were rapidly increasing. Just in time, Lin Feng slowly opened his eyes, a gleam of light flashing in his eyes. With his strength, he could block the flame attacks without any effort. However, he was not searching for secrets, nor was he satisfying his curiosity. This time, he entered the southern sea of flames with a clear goal. That was to raise the devouring flames to the 89th level in the shortest time possible. In this way, he could resonate with the rebirth flames, which were also at the 89th level, and sublimate the phoenix fire. In order to reach the 90th level, break through to the starry sky level. Begin. Lin Feng looked serious. At this moment, all the obstacles around him were useless. A carpet search. The Flaming Tiger clan naturally did not dare to disobey the order given by the Demon Emperor. Under Wang Huang's command, the experts frantically searched every corner of the southern sea of flames, digging 3 feet into the ground. However, after 2 days of searching, they almost turned the entire top layer of the southern sea of flames upside down, but still found nothing. Not even a ghost was seen. If they went deeper, many of the Flaming Tiger clan's experts would not be able to do it. The Demon clan was not known for their origin energy. Even the strongest of the Flaming Tiger clan, Wang Huang, could not compare with the strength of the ancient clan experts of the same level. The Demon clan was best at close combat, using the power of the martial god. Reporting to the Demon Emperor, we did not find anything. Wang Huang's face was ashen as he cupped his hands and said, no matter what, he had done his best. Continuing the search would only be a waste of time. The experts of the Flaming Tiger clan who could really continue the search were less than 10%. Such a small number was not enough to complete the search. Moreover, he was very clear about Lin Feng's strength. Even if the other experts of the Flaming Tiger clan found Lin Feng, it would only be a dead end. With such a distance, the Demon Emperor could not help at all. At this moment, he had to give up. Kuei Tianyuan's face was gloomy and extremely unhappy. He had waited here for 2 days, but he did not expect to receive such news. However, Wang Huang was as confident, and he was very clear about his ability. Since it was a fact that they could not find Lin Feng in a short time, scolding Wang Huang was useless. Earth Splitter, what do you think? Kuei Tianyuan suppressed his anger and asked in a deep voice. Lam Tok T's eyes flickered slightly as he pondered for a moment before replying. Lin Feng is very cunning. There is no need for us to play this game of hide-and-seek with him. Looking at Kuei Tianyuan and seeing that his expression had eased a little, Lam Tok T understood. In his position, He had to find a way out for Kuei Tianyuan and not blindly kill Lin Feng. After all, there were many things that he could not do as he wished. In the end, the Demon Emperor was the one in charge of the monster race. So, Kuei Tianyuan looked at Lam Tok Ti, his eyes flashing. Wait! Lam Tok Ti smiled indifferently, pointing to the South Sea of flames. The Demon Emperor is not afraid that he will run away. As long as we send the experts of the monster race to guard this place, I believe that the human Lin Feng will come out sooner or later. At that time, his whereabouts will be exposed, and we can capture him. Wouldn't that be great? Since we have already caught the turtle in the jar, we might as well wait for the rabbit to come out. What does the Demon Emperor think? Lam Tok Ti said slowly. Good. Let's do as the military advisor says. Kuei Tianyuan responded and nodded with satisfaction. In the Jade Palace, Lin Feng was deeply immersed in the mysterious space, where it was difficult to distinguish reality from illusion. 2 days and 2 nights of absorption had now reached the end. The rich starlight had dimmed, the flow of matter and energy around, and the light seemed to slow down. Everything seemed to have lost the feeling of energy and returned to its original state. The starry sky gradually calmed down. In fact, he had already sensed these changes a day ago. As the most direct absorber, he could naturally feel the slowing down of the absorption speed and the gradual slowing of the increase in strength. But even so, this absorption speed was far better than normal cultivation. Although the absorption efficiency was not as good as the divine beast phoenix's bestowment to the body, but at least there was enough time. After 2 days and 2 nights of absorption, although it did not let the doppelganger reach the peak of the Saint King level, he was already quite satisfied. Pa! The starlight disappeared in an instant, and the space dimmed. Lin Feng took a deep breath, and the rise and fall of his chest gradually calmed down. Everything was different from 2 days ago. Now he was advanced Saint King level. Chapter 15-16. Pa. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. The improvement in his strength was obvious. As a high-level Saint King, his abilities in all aspects had improved a lot. Not to mention other things, just the improvement of his Star Source Force gave him a stronger combat strength. Now, if he encountered a Monster King again, he was confident that he could defeat him. Perhaps he was still a little bit away from reaching the Monster Emperor level, but compared to his previous complete defeat, he was at least a little bit closer. Shwa! His eyes lit up, but Lin Feng was calm. The space around him, which was difficult to distinguish between reality and illusion, had disappeared at this moment, and a dim light emerged little by little. What appeared in front of him was a majestic hall, which was quite large. If he was outside, it would be hard to imagine that such a pocket-sized jade palace actually had a universe inside. He had finally entered. This was the most mysterious and the true essence of the Star-Stepping Mansion. However, when he looked around, the whole hall was empty. Not only was there no door, there was not even a window. The whole hall was like a sealed space, which was extremely tightly sealed. There was nothing strange about it all, except, Lin Feng suddenly discovered something. It was not that there was nothing strange about it, but that this strange place was exactly where he was standing. A cylindrical, transparent space seemed to be imprisoning him in it. At this moment, he felt a faint binding force, which made him unable to move. Even if he had come to a new world, it was not the least bit different from before. He was still a turtle in a jar. Again? Lin Feng muttered to himself. Although he knew that the owner of the Star-Stepping Mansion did not have any malicious intentions, and that it might be an opportunity, no one would be in a good mood to be manipulated like a grasshopper. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, a sudden change occurred. A layer of scorching energy instantly appeared on top of his head, as if an extremely hot sun had appeared. Lin Feng's body trembled. So strong. Before he could react and even raise his head, suddenly, bang! As if he had been enlightened, his body shook violently. The scorching energy poured into his head, as if a sword had pierced straight into his head. His whole body was completely awake in an instant, as if his soul had left his body and his blood was boiling. Ding! Ding! His body was extremely hot, as if it was burning. Lin Feng's breathing suddenly quickened. His chest rose and fell with palpitations, but he didn't know what had happened. His entire body was in a state of chaos, and he felt an enormous pressure pressing down on him from all directions, crazily squeezing his body. An enormous power surged forth like a tidal wave, causing his body to tremble continuously. At this moment, his body became transparent, like a stream of water. His consciousness gradually became muddled. His body gradually stiffened. It was as if something had awakened in him. After an unknown period of time, pada, pada, his body exploded as if he couldn't withstand the terrifying power. His blood flickered with an extremely strong energy factor, and even his cells changed. Lin Feng's consciousness gradually returned. Sensing the rich metal origin energy in his body, Lin Feng instantly woke up. Ha! Opening his eyes, Lin Feng's fists trembled and clenched. It moved. He could finally move his body. Everything was in the clouds and mist, like a dream. It was extremely unreal, but the most unreal thing was undoubtedly his own feelings. His body seemed to have become different. Hua! His eyes slightly brightened. Lin Feng stretched out his hands and swallowed his saliva. This was his own hand. A thick layer of scales flashed with golden light. His hands were still his own hands, but the thick layer of scales, the strong power, and the rich metal origin energy were not present before. Not only his hands, but a thick layer of golden scales also appeared on his body. His entire body seemed to have suddenly expanded, and it was extremely strange. He raised his eyebrows, and a strange horn appeared on his head. Everything was so strange, but it was very familiar. Thunder slaughter armor? Lin Feng was moved. This situation was similar to how he had summoned the lightning slaughter armor back then. However, there were many subtle changes. It's not the same. Now it's much stronger. Lin Feng nodded secretly. His body was still his own body, but it felt completely different. His current body was like a demonic beast that had transformed into its true form. It held the most basic power and the strongest ability. Although he was unwilling to think of it this way, it seemed that his current body was his strongest ability. The flow of his blood was inherited from his teacher, the ancient divine beast, Thunder Slaughter. It was much stronger than a human body. Metal origin. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. The layer of scales on his body was the materialization of the metal origin. Divine beasts were the existences closest to the origin energy. As for the ancient divine beasts, their innate abilities were even deeper than that. They were synonymous with the origin energy. Right now, his connection with the origin of metal was unprecedentedly strong and clear. Stretching out his hands, he could deeply sense the existence of the metal origin even without deliberately thinking about it. He could comprehend the mysteries of the metal origin because the blood of his teacher, the ancient divine beast, Thunder Slaughter, flowed in his body. Even the strongest commander of the demonic beasts, the great sage, can't compare to me in terms of the comprehension of the metal origin. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he thought to himself. He had personally witnessed the battle between the witch Emperor Jiang and the great sage commander of the demonic beasts. They were both from the Ursa major constellation, so he had carefully memorized and studied the moves of the great sage commander of the demonic beasts. He couldn't comprehend it before, but now he could clearly understand it. It was as if he had the memories of a warrior and had returned to the beginning of his martial arts training. Everything came naturally. If I cultivate the mysteries of the metal origin in my current state, not to mention other things, just the metal origin alone is enough to turn the world upside down. My strength will definitely increase greatly in a short period of time. However, this is not the most powerful change. The most powerful change, I think it should be... Lin Feng stretched out his hands and clenched his fists. He felt the surging power. His eyes lit up completely, and his chest rose and fell violently. Punk! He fiercely punched out. The space shook violently. With a metal origin, the strength of his body was incomparably terrifying. It was far stronger than before. This was the most powerful change. The increase of talent. If it was the Thunder Slaughter armor before, then now is the Thunder Slaughter true body. Like the Blood Phoenix of the mystery, it is a comprehensive ability enhancement. However, it is not a mystery, but an ability of the body. It is called talent. The corner of Lin Feng's mouth rose slightly. In a short period of time after entering the Jade Palace, not only did his strength increase greatly, but he also gained a new talent ability. His doppelganger's strength increased greatly. The activation of talent. Can this place unlock the hidden power in a warrior's body? Lin Feng was moved and was quite curious. It was like a key that unlocked the power that had been hidden in his body. The bejeweled Jade Palace seemed huge and mysterious and contained infinite mysteries. However, in reality, its function was much simpler than he had imagined. Although it was simple, its function was indeed real. Looking at the entire Stepping Star Mansion, as Shun said, the Jade Palace was the most precious. First, increase the level of strength. Second, activate the talent ability. Moreover, both are passive abilities. It simplifies the increase of strength and shows the strength of the Jade Palace. Lin Feng muttered to himself. Cultivation and the increase of strength became so simple here. In just a few days, he took a huge step forward on the path of cultivation. He was getting closer and closer to the top of the pyramid of the Douling world. If he were to summon the Thunder Slaughter true body now, perhaps he would be able to fight a monster emperor to the end. Phew! Exhaling lightly, Lin Feng nodded slowly. His eyes were bright. Although that was the case, the awakening of the Thunder Slaughter true body in the Jade Palace was passive and not active. He still needed a lot of time to master this talent ability. It was not done overnight. If my doppelganger can increase its strength in the Jade Palace, I wonder if my main body can do the same? Lin Feng's eyes shone as he was curious. Does my main body have the talent to activate it? If my main body can do it, how much stronger will my strength be? Thinking deeper, if my main body can do it like my doppelganger, can other Sage King level human experts do it too? Lin Feng pondered. The increase in strength of his doppelganger in a very short period of time gave him a new understanding of the Jade Palace. There were not many restrictions in the Jade Palace. Not only could his doppelganger pass the first two restrictions, but so could his main body. Even many human experts could pass the first two restrictions. For example, Qian Lian Huang and Wan Macho. If they could enter the Jade Palace, would their strength increase greatly like his doppelganger? Everything was unknown. I'll know when I try. Lin Feng pondered. If my main body can do it, other human experts can do it too. At that time, through the Jade Palace, the strength of human Sage King level experts will increase tremendously. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he thought to himself. If his prediction was true, then it would be really incredible. However, all of this was just a hypothesis. He should focus on his own cultivation now. A long period of cultivation began. His main body, under the protection of the demons, was absorbing flames in the center of a nombous sea of flames to cultivate. With enough neutral flames, the devouring fire's level was increasing at an astonishing speed. With each additional level, the amount of neutral flames that could be absorbed would increase by one level. In a nombous sea of flames, there was no need to worry about the lack of flames. There would only be more and more flames, and his cultivation would become faster and faster. His doppelganger carefully studied his innate ability and unlocked the new password of his body. Once he mastered the innate ability, Thunder Zhang's true body, his combat strength would increase by another level. Not only in terms of combat strength, but also in terms of his comprehension of the origin of metal and the mysteries of the Tao of metal during his daily cultivation. Of course, the stronger the ability, the harder it was to cultivate. The level of the devouring fire was the same, and so was the innate ability, Thunder Zhang's true body. Even though he had experienced it once in the Jade Palace, It took Lin Feng a lot of effort to activate it a second time. He cultivated for a full half a month before he grasped the trick. After a full month, he gradually got the hang of it and slowly became able to control it. The 3-month deadline was getting closer and closer. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.